Locodoco is beyond fucking mentally ill, but I'll just learn to live with it.
What I do?
Advertise the time as being an hour earlier.
Did I?
Here's a crazy idea. You're on a fucking supercomputer with access to the internet and all human information of all time. You can literally type into Google 3 p.m. PDT, CEST, press enter, and it will tell you literally the time. You don't need to guess. You don't need to use your fucked brain and just guess at stuff like, in Europe land, the country of Europe, isn't it 11? It's 12 o'clock, you daft cunt. It's 11 UK time, but... And it's also not even CET, it's CEST, because you put PDT, you didn't put PST, did you? Fucking hell, you're all over the place. As I say, don't leave it to your brain, mate. Just leave that. I've given up on that. Just type into Google. Google's really good for shit like that. If you ever want to do anything, by the way, Google can it can even do basic maths, If you just type in 782, it'll just do it all for you. So just type in 3 p.m. PDT, CEST, enter, and it'll definitely just tell you the answer. You don't need to guess. Right, this is going to be episode 81 of Listen Loco. Hopefully, just as Kobe Bryant hit his career high of 81 points against the Toronto Raptors on, I believe, off the top of my head, the 22nd of January 2006, because I have a brain like that, Loco. Some of us can remember things that happen in life. Just as he hit his career high point, let's hope this episode isn't the career high point for any of us, because that'd be very depressing if just coming on a random episode talking about the semi-finals and quarterfinals of LCS was in fact the career high point. But enough about DeMonte and his life. Sorry, did I say that out loud? I meant to say that into it. I don't really. By the way, if you want to actually know one of the secrets to becoming as good as I am, just learn to make your internal voice your external voice. Yeah. As opposed to in Loco's case, making your external voice the voice of a young child who watches anime and is fragile but needs to put up this big front of being someone with a lot of swag and kind of a bit edgy.
I'm a delicate flower inside.
Exactly, but deep down, you're the kid in an anime, right? One of those animes where it's like animals and stuff. It's not like humans. You're the ones where it'll be some sort of alien creatures. You're like the little one that gets held by the big guy who's really strong, and he looks after you. But you think you're like the brains of the organization.
No, I'm more of the. Well, who's the enemy in Ninja Turtle? That's like a brain inside like a giant armor.
Oh, Krang.
Yeah, I'm Krang.
Yeah.
I like to think of myself more so that way.
Reasonable, right? Well, in that case, I'm fucking Shredder, so you better not fuck with me, son. So anyway, right, Croissant here is actually professionally playing the role of Master Splinter, because he tries to take the young turtles of Optic Gaming and he tells them, listen, kids, keep eating pizza and don't go near more radioactive waste, but you already went through that. But whatever, listen, whatever happened in your past, Optic players, however you ended up in this sewer, Optic Gaming, I'm going to train you up through the methods of fighting, some solo fighting, not a lot, we're in NA, as you saw. It was all just fucking NA Rams in this match, but anyway, it's all NA Rams, but eventually I'll make you into an elite fighting unit that could one day defeat the great boss. So obviously this episode is going to be about LCS playoffs. We had the first 2 rounds take place, which are still called the quarterfinals, even though actually the fact that there's no 8 teams there doesn't make sense. So technically you should actually call it what Koreans renamed it, which is round of 6, which is actually just a better name, because the logic is 2 of them were in the 6, but they got the bye. So in the round of 6, obviously we had TSM versus Clutch Gaming, and then we had CLG versus Optic. For people who actually don't remember, actually, CLG is the highest seed out of those teams. It's not TSM that was the highest seed. That was 4 versus 5. CLG versus Optic was 3 versus 6. And obviously, Optic quite impressively came through the whole tiebreaker scenario to actually reach the playoffs. There was a bunch of other teams we talked about on the episode of Amazing that could have been there. 100 Thieves could have been there. GGS could have been there. But instead, Optic managed to come through. Clutch also amazingly managed to do a pretty epic run to get into the playoffs themselves, which is how they actually amazingly ended up with the 5th seed, which is pretty nuts actually when you think about it, because they were a team a lot of people probably thought would be bad. So let's talk about that first matchup, which obviously on paper is the juiciest one, even though Croissant's going to have a lot more information for us as like an assistant coach or whatever of the Optic one, which we can talk about. But I actually think, here's the interesting thing. Unlike a lot of other times when you might have been on the show, when other people come on the show and their team's lost, I don't think we're actually going to flame you much, Croissant, because to be fair, I actually think Optic exceeded expectations this split. I actually even thought that opponent was just a bad draw. Like, I actually think if you'd maybe been able to get that 5th seed yourselves, I could have seen you having a chance against TSM. You just couldn't get it, unfortunately. So let's talk about the other one first. Let's do the TSM versus Clutch Gaming one. And I'll start out, right, by sort of offering a small olive branch to the TSM fans of the world. Are you ready? You wouldn't think this is that, would you, Loco? Because unlike you, you miserable old cunt, I can actually give people a little bit of credit, you know. Like, I could just come on the episode, spend the first 20 minutes just laughing, smoking a cigar like a fucking 1930s
But you've already done that on Twitter.
Yeah, I already did all that already. I'm already smoked out. Like, I feel a bit nauseous at this point in time, and I've also drunk all the brandy out. No, but what I'm going to say is this. I actually don't, after watching this series, think it's like super egregious that TSM lost, or like think they're the fucking dumbest team ever. But here's the key thing I'm going to say. This is the slight olive branch I'll give TSM fans. I don't actually think Clutch Gaming was that good. I was just reviewing the series before what came on the show now. I don't think Clutch Gaming was that great in this season. I think it was actually quite a bad series from both teams. I think it mainly just came down to actually just over and over again, like full-on 5v5s and 4v4s in skirmish areas of the map, including mid, and then basically Clutch Gamer won most of them. I think there was mistakes there from what TSM did, but I don't think, for example, like Clutch Gamer was a much better team, or even individually they outperformed all their TSM counterparts. I thought it was a fairly close series. Now, listen, you can have the meta discussion about, well, you know, what the fuck's TSM doing at the level of a Clutch Gamer? We can do that later. But just to start out with, I'm not going to pretend like Clutch Gamer was amazing and totally crushed TSM. I actually thought it was a fairly close series.
Isn't that like... I think that in itself is the problem. Like, what are the expectations for Clutch? What are the expectations for TSM? And like, what both teams like accomplished in spring? And then the fact that it's a close series versus Clutch and TSM. Like, if you said that right after spring finals, like, that would be outrageous.
Oh, of course.
So
no, but that's kind of my point. Is listen, we'll definitely have that discussion because obviously we have to talk about the future of TSM. Where do they go? Like, yes, you're right. If we look at where they were at the end of spring and where they are now, the drop off is way too much. And even the fact that, like as I'm alluding to, they could have won this series, but it would again have been close on their part, and it wouldn't have been a great series. That in itself is terrible. But you have also got to look at where TSM is today. And, you know, let's face it, they haven't been the TSM of spring for a long time now. Maybe briefly at the beginning of the split, they had some moments where they were like that. That's about it. So, Croissant, what about you? What did you think as in terms of like starting out with general feelings about this series, the TSM Clutch? Like, for example, did you go into it actually thinking Clutch could win? I actually thought personally that TSM would crush them, and I noticed the only person who picked was Crumbs, right? I think it was just Crumbs.
Freak also said 3-0 for...
Oh, Freak as well. Yes, apologies. Yeah.
The only... so we definitely scrimmed against Clutch, and we thought that they were pretty strong going into the quarterfinal. But it was roughly even between us, so it was just about whether Clutch could get the draft that they wanted and set up the conditions that they needed to beat TSM. And I was pretty sure that they could do that because, in general, I feel like Clutch's game plan is a lot more defined than what TSM looks for. But that's during the regular season, right? So coming into playoffs, I wasn't sure whether TSM would step it up. That was always like a possibility for their draft and preparation. But for me, the big thing was coming into the series, I think a lot of people viewed Sven as someone who was under a lot of pressure, who had there were the narratives about how he had failed in the previous split in the finals and how he had struggled and repeatedly been picked off and died throughout full best of one summer. Mm-hmm. But I thought that Sven would come in looking pretty strong, and I had a lot of faith in him. I didn't have faith in their jungle situation, obviously. I do think that I thought TSM made decisions that they should have made much earlier on in the split. And I favored Clutch going into the series, but I didn't think that it would be as one-sided. Because even though TSM took a game, it generally felt like Clutch had a lot of control, had a lot of the mental edge series. That was just it was kind of sad to see because I like seeing TSM be an.
Wait there one sec, right? The problem is, because you haven't used Discord much, go into the Discord audio settings for me, and there's a setting where basically it's automatically you shuttering the mic when you stop talking, right? And the problem is you've got the settings set too high. So since you're quite soft-spoken, when you start to trail off on a word, it just cuts and thinks you've stopped talking. So basically just turn that feature off entirely, if I were you. Just turn it off and just let it transmit the whole time. You're not going to make much noise in the mic. But anyway, we heard all that. It's just that at the very end, I actually missed a word. You said something I thought TSM would be, but then it cut that word. So what was the word? What do you think TSM would be? Better or something?
I thought TSM would have more cards to play in the series, and I thought that their mental fortitude coming to the series would be a little stronger than it ended up being.
Sure. Like one area we can just start there actually is, like I said, the series was just a billion team fights over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And obviously Clutch was winning the majority of them. But like even those actually kind of made me concerned for TSM when I was watching this game live, because there was a whole bunch of times, I don't know if people noticed this, where in the first game, like TSM actually baited Clutch into a bunch of fights and skirmishes, but they just lost a bunch of them. And then in the second game, TSM tried to be really proactive and start a lot of the fights, but then they would just get counter-engaged on and lose them. Like, what do you think was the issue? Like, as a complete layman, I will just say this, Loco. Mate, if people want to do this, go and do this right now if people want to test this out. And I normally never come with any like facts and figures and info from the game, right? Go watch the first 2 games of this series and watch all the little fights that they have with more than 3 people from each team involved. And I tell you what, Bjergsen must fucking love having kills on the scoreboard, because this motherfucker can't stop just hitting the support in every fight. Like, if I missed something, Loco, is the job of a mid laner to always hit the support player and get a kill? Like, last time I checked, you're the fucking damage dealer.
I mean, you should pick off the support as Akali, like if the support is available to you, but I thought like the biggest problem is like them just constantly getting into full-blown team fights. Like the fact that you're talking about like as like a full-blown team fight, like if you look at TSM comp, it was stuff like Akali, Kled, and they played so little to side lane. So I think the fault in itself is maybe he did over-focus the support, but the fact that they're just getting into full-on 5v5 team fights over and over again instead of actually playing off side lanes, like I think that itself was so outrageous.
Yeah, TSM tried to play into the Clutch game plan, which Clutch has played all season, all split, and definitely all season, and they've refined it more with their new coaching staff. But basically, Clutch has loved drafting Lux support when it was meta, and it's just completely fallen out of the meta after the shield nerfs. But at the time, they would draft Lux, and then they would play Sylas, they would play Rek'Sai, they would play divers, and Lux could just constantly keep them alive. And so now the meta has shifted, but Clutch still prioritizes that kind of style, and they are much better and much more coordinated in team fighting, setting up vision around areas where they can skirmish. And you almost never saw TSM do that throughout the split, right? TSM played a shit ton of Corki, Azir, Twisted Fate, and they didn't play much Akali at all, and they pulled it out because I guess Bjergsen wanted to shift his priorities and return to that kind of like carry mentality. But this is the answer to the question that a lot of fans have had for a long time. They asked this about Faker as well, right? Like Faker last night just lost as Karma in 2 games to Showmaker on Damwon Gaming, who many people like in Korea consider better than Faker right now. And Showmaker played 2 games of Akali. And when Akali was first reworked, and it was the summer split of Season 8, so a year ago, Faker pulled it out Bjergsen pulled it out and just completely shit on Team Liquid, and then they made it into playoffs over us, Optic. And then Akali was pretty much banned away from Bjergsen for all of the playoffs and then all of the gauntlet as well, for Worlds. But this season, like even though Akali has risen back to priority, a lot of teams first pick him or first pick her and put her in the top lane or the mid lane. It was just really weird to see that TSM didn't have that as like an option that they were looking to play for, right? Like Broken Blade can definitely play the Akali, but they didn't show a lot of comfort in that priority pick, even though they took it first pick. And then when Bjergsen played it, he didn't handle it that well, and part of it was because of his mechanical proficiency, but also because of, as Loco mentioned, how they played the side lanes, how TSM started fights, or whether they should have started fights at all. And meanwhile, Clutch was just playing a style with Kiana, with Damonte on like his pocket picks and his champions that pretty much no one else plays right now in the NALCS. So it looked like TSM really didn't know how to control Clutch's conditions, and Clutch always comes into a weekend with like 3 bans that they know they want, and they lock those bans in across all of their scrims, no matter what, on both sides. And then so they just have their own refined meta. And a lot of coaches look at that and they think, well, Clutch has really random, like weird bans, and it creates their own meta that's hard to play against. But I don't consider it as random. I think it's very calculated. I think that there are ways to exploit it, but TSM definitely didn't have a clue as to how to prepare or how to adapt to Clutch in this series. So,
by the way, along those lines, just before we forget, like, why do you think that there haven't been, why wasn't there more priority generally in the playoffs in NA for Kiana? Because I pretty swear, whenever I see it in Europe, like especially if anyone from G2 plays it, they are definitely going to carry the whole fucking game, and it looks broken as fuck when they play it. Like they're going to get 8-9 kills. Like why? Like in a bunch of these games in this playoffs in both series, like it wasn't banned and it wasn't picked.
yeah. Oh, go ahead, Loco.
It's weird to me too, because initially everyone's like, "Oh my god, Kiana is so OP," and like they're like, "NA is the only reason that lost with Kiana." I think Demonte had like one loss on Kiana, and then Kiana spiked when she was available, and then she went down so much. People say stuff like TF is a counter into Kiana. Kiana requires a lot of kills for her to be active, so they think of her as like a high execution assassin. But it's something I haven't been able to figure out either, where teams initially put a lot of priority on her and considered her OP, first pick or must ban, to like just not touching her outside of select teams like Splice and Clutch Gaming.
Like, I even think this is a great example because, yeah, obviously, like, by the way, someone like Bjergsen, if he wants to carry, that's a great example of something that seems like he could have played. But the other example in this series is, dude, whoever the coaching staff is on Clutch must have done a fucking good job with Huni. Like, that's exactly the sort of shit Huni should want to pick, but he was still picking all the shit that he'd been picking before, the fucking Rumble. Is it like these aren't Huni picks traditionally? You would want him to play the carry, wouldn't you? So I think he must have played within the system.
Well, the system they designed, I don't think like they really pushed Huni away from being Huni. Like if you traditionally think back, like Huni's best champions are carries, but he did love champions like Rumble. He does love champions like Gangplank. Like Gangplank has been the pocket pick for Huni for such a long time. Maybe they cut off some of the more extreme pocket picks and counter picks in like Cassiopeia and Lucian, but Huni is still very much being Huni, just being more of a team fight oriented Huni than a split push Huni. I think one thing that Clutch did a really good job of is they identified the kind of players they have, and they're letting them play to their strengths while it still makes sense when you look at it all five together. Like bot lane being really solid and bot lane playing a lot of engages, Vulcan on All-Star, Vulcan on Rakan. Mid lane, like Demonte getting to play his playmakers that he likes playing that are also strong in isolation. Kiana, Akali, there's one I'm missing.
Silas, maybe? I don't know.
Silas, and then also for Lyra, when Lyra played meta junglers, he wasn't as good, but they pushed him towards stuff like Silas, pushed him towards stuff like Skarner, stuff he feels comfortable on, stuff he can play the solo lanes on, and Huni I talked about earlier. What they did really well was identify what everyone's good at and make a comp and make like a strategy that just works for that team. And adding on to what Croissant said, that's why I think the bans really work. Like the bans like Ezreal bans, the bans like Sona bans, like they realize like if they get these champions, it's good against what we normally like playing. That's why they're banning it out. I think Clutch has been a very smartly coached team, and that's something that doesn't really get a lot of light.
Right, being as obviously everyone did flame Svenny right in the past, and even this split, him and then whoever the jungler is are the players who've gotten the most criticism. What did you think, Croissant, of Sven in this series?
I think Sven was widely recognized as TSM's best player by analysts and fans alike, and I think it was just very apparent on its own. But I think that people were confused why he was stepping up and playing better all of a sudden. Some people attributed that to like him having a jungler that Sven could control more, or maybe he was less predictable than Akaadian's pathing was. So like the problem with or this theory, right, that people have where Akaadian has a very predictable pathing, he needs to be put on a game plan, and if the enemy jungler is a particularly intelligent one or known for like abusing weaker junglers like Sven or Lyra, or even Meteos is considered like a cerebral jungler by a lot of people, they could exploit Matt's pathing or Akaadian's pathing with a route or a punish that he wouldn't encounter in like 90% of scrims, right? And it's just like it'll throw you off on stage. It'll make you start playing differently, not focusing on the right areas to set up vision as the jungler or to play to one side. And because of that, it's like, okay, well, does Spica really have that much more versatility, or is he a wild card? No, nobody would really consider Spica like Spica was put on Sejuani, right? He wasn't put on Nidalee or like his signature OTP champions that he played in solo queue. But I think what they did, and it was just like a change in dynamic. And you see this a lot of the times when you put in subs or when you play with a new guy who feels more fresh, that person is really eager, and they're eager to please their teammates, especially if they're coming in with there's like a difference in authority or hierarchy in this team, right? Clearly. In terms of Spica, who's a rookie, versus Sven, who's one of the main veterans and shot callers on the team, and Sven doing something as creative as, okay, I'm going to get hooked here, looking like I'm pretending to freeze or hold this wave so I can force the enemy to push out, or force the enemy jungler here. And then I get hooked by Nautilus Q, but then Spica's hiding there. He told Spica to do that, right? Spica didn't say, I'm going to do this, and Sven's like, oh, thank God, I have a jungler who's going to do this. But it's like Akaadian could make that play, but for them to have the communication, to break down in that way, or to have that process exist, is something that like there might have been enough tensions, or might have been enough like baggage, which is like that opens a whole other
we're gonna get into that in a minute.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, it doesn't have to be actual personal like gripes or
the stylistic or conflict, strengths of the players, right?
Yeah, and it can just be like, again, bringing Spica in and having only played with him for a certain amount of time has its clear weaknesses, and like people can criticize TSM for that, but it also has its minor upsides, and it has these things that TSM was banking on and saying like, okay, we can use this to try to make a difference in playoffs, and if we can't, then we'll have more time to. They have like 3 weeks until Gauntlet, right, or 4 weeks right now.
Okay. Because, by the way, for anyone who isn't aware, obviously, since Croissant works with Optic, last year Akaadian was on Optic. So I actually thought he would also be someone interested to bring into this discussion, which let's just go ahead and do it now. Because, first of all, I'll just respond to some of that. Like, I absolutely agree. Like, I didn't want to, like, make it, like, give my opinion first on that one, but you said it was much. For all the shit everyone gives Ven, he fucking stepped it up in this series. Like, he actually gave them a chance at times here. And also, it's very interesting because, as you alluded to there, that's a very interesting premise to set up to the discussion that we'll have now about the whole jungle situation. Because one thing I have to say is, an interesting counterpoint to everything everyone else said is, if indeed it was Sven who was the one who didn't, for whatever reason, like the way Akaadian was playing and got this other guy brought in, you can't say he was 100% wrong. Like, Spica didn't play terribly. Sven himself popped off. Like, Sven got what he needed. So I will say that's one aspect people probably haven't thought of in terms of a wrinkle. But, okay, Loco, let's start off. So we teased it yesterday. So the situation, I'll just review it all again for everyone. So what happened is I Will Dominate, who obviously is still involved in the scene. He does a show with Loco about LCS, made a comment on Twitter saying that he'd been to a party where he'd heard that basically the TSM jungle problems came out of the fact that they were... like Sven and Akaadian didn't get along. I can't remember if it was him, but then someone else also said something like, that in VOD reviews, everyone was just going in on Sven, Akaadian, and no one was like standing up for him, and they were kind of like sound like scapegoating him. And then Loco corroborated.
Can I add one aspect to that? Right. Dom said he didn't hear from like a random person at the party. Dom said he heard from someone involved in TSM. He didn't hear.
He also later clarified this and said that he heard from either a player or a coach in TSM.
Yeah. That's what Dom clarified.
And then Loco said, like, yeah, I know people too, and I also heard the same thing. And then basically, today, Akaadian came out with like an official statement like, this is not true. As usual, all rumors that involve me in the scene can never be true unless I say they are true. And even though you all accept as fans and fucking plebs that I should never have to say the truth about myself and my team, as long as you are fans of my team, you will now believe everything I've just said now, even though you simultaneously also believe that it's fine for me to lie about everything because why would I want to lower my teammates' confidence? So even though it makes no sense to believe what I'm saying, because
let's go down that line. Let's go down that line. So me and Dom are lying, and what Akaadian said is true. So if what Akaadian says is true, there's no drama.
Wait a second. Well, 1 sec. Technically, you don't have to be lying, Loco. Like, technically, the person who told you could be lying.
Okay,
like,
so
they
sure.
Be implying.
All right, so me and Dom had bad information, or we lied. Let's play both cases. Me and Dom had bad information, and we lied. So what Akaadian's saying is true. TSM announced him as the starting jungler, and 2 weeks later, he got benched for Spica, who had 1 week of performance in LCS. Like, if that's the case and like that's the truth, like what does it say about TSM and what does it say about you, Akaadian? So you're asking us to believe there isn't drama and you guys are completely chill. And this is coming from someone that supports TSM and honestly like supports you, Akaadian. Like, you cannot expect that to be the truth. So the honest truth is You got benched 2 weeks after being declared a starter for someone that has never played LCS before. Is that the reality of what's going on? You played so bad, TSM lost confidence in you within those 2 to 3 weeks where they didn't want you to be the starter. That's the truth you want to be out there, and that's what you want people to be believing. If that's the case, then let that be the truth and let that speak for your gameplay. You like anyone that's a TSM fan, like, you can hate me, you can hate Doran, you can think we're bullshitting, you can think me and Dom is bullshitting. If we are bullshitting and the other revenue is the truth, like, holy fucking shit. Like, did Akaadian really play that bad?
Okay, so I don't really consume that much of the content that surrounds the scene. I occasionally watch some of your VOD reviews, Loco, or I listen to them when I like drive around, right? And I listen to some other stuff too. But I think so. The thing that was posted on TSM on the subreddit, and I'm just going to read it verbatim, was Dom on TSM jungler situation. There was a problem between Sven and Akaadian. Their VOD reviews were basically everyone hard flaming Akaadian every game. What did you do wrong this time? And so what Akaadian disputed was this, right? He just said, just going to go ahead and say this is absolutely not what went down at any point. Sure, some games, if I played a shit early game, we would go over that, but that is extremely normal. Please stop trying to dramatize the situation and just move on, people, blah, blah. So I think what he is just mainly disputing is the fact that what caused there's like some sort of personal, like, Akaadian doesn't want TSM to get a bad rep, and TSM doesn't want Akaadian to get a bad rep either, right? They don't want
wait a second, I'm going to stop you right there. I don't believe the last statement, by the way. I know what you mean. No. In premise, they don't want Akaadian to get a bad rep. Their actions have ensured Akaadian is going to get a bad rep. So I'm just going to say that is, that.
If they would have gone extensively, there's a lot more they could reveal if they believe that the reason that they benched Akaadian was so that because he was so much worse than Speaker, or he was underperforming that much, they could have gone into detail about that. I'm saying that...
Not if they've been flaming him, and then he could just come out and show that they're a pure shit organization that had, like, the owner just walked in and mad disrespect to his face.
Also, like, let's say that's true. Akaadian, why did you go back and unlike the tweets that people made regarding, like, what if it? Oh, TSM did you wrong. What if it? I'm so glad Clutch won. Like, I'm so glad for Akaadian that Clutch won. Like, Akaadian, if honestly me and Dom are just fucking making shit up and we have bad information, why'd you have to go back and unlike those tweets? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I want to support Akaadian. I want to support TSM, and I'm still going to support Akaadian. I'm still going to support TSM, but you're straight saying we're liars with public information that's out there that disputes what you're saying. Like, it's just so annoying.
Local. I'll say this, like, I'll let you say your whole part there because obviously it's a pretty good rant. But like, first of all, I obviously agree with the premise. Like, whether or not here's the stupid thing about this whole scenario, right? This is the default approach that people always take. Like, the dumbest thing about what Akaadian did was this. First of all, it actually helped his cause for people to believe that this was all true. If I was him, like, again, when I say if I'm him, I mean literally if I'm him. If I'm me in his position, I wouldn't do that because I personally, as you notice, I have a very difficult but incredibly strong relationship with the truth where I believe it has to be said. But in his particular scenario, he doesn't seem like a guy who's super vocal publicly. I'd just let people believe it. I think it's in your interest, actually, that they think that you didn't get caught, as Loco said, for being shit at the game. You actually just got benched because some guy had a personal problem with you. What that actually says to the rest of the league is, if you thought Akaadian had any skills, you can maybe even overlook some of the problems he had. Maybe he just wasn't getting along, and maybe you get him, you bought a low price, everyone else thinks he's a cast-off, maybe he's a good player for your team. But he's done the classic move that players love to do. I call it just taking the cheap way out, which is you go, it's like, it's actually literally what the website Snopes.com does in the political era, which is like, they don't actually prove that what you said is incorrect. They just say, like, well, it's not 100% right, so it's not right. It's like, well, technically you're right. Yeah, okay. Like by his logic, it's like, well, maybe we did have group meetings and maybe people sometimes criticize. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, the idea that you had normal sessions in I don't believe you. I think you're a liar, Akaadian. I think the idea that inside the TSM house, you went through all those fucking losses, you were a big part of them, and you were just having normal VOD review sessions where everything was just cool, and then you just got benched. After which you made no statement, you said nothing, you didn't say this is all great, it's all amicable. You just waited until all the drama, and then you didn't just say it didn't happen. You could have left it there. You had to throw that last line in. Please stop trying to dramatize all this. Fuck you. Trying to dramatize what? Your life being fucking falling apart. It's pretty dramatic, homie. Your career is almost over.
TSM fans, honestly, then answer me this question, and like Akaadian, answer me this question. There was no drama, there was no nothing, and you got benched for skill reasons. You were so fucking bad, they wouldn't even want you on the roster as a sub going into playoffs just in case Spica can't play. You were that bad, they don't want you on the roster as a sub. Akaadian.
By the way,
please,
that means in that scenario, remember, it's not even that you'd have to have played. You'd at least have him there just in case. Like, remember, Spica had played 2 LCS games in his life. Let's say Spica plays game 1, and for whatever reason, he's just one of those really unlucky people who gets really freaked out when he's in a playoff game. And he's choking completely. At a minimum, we at least want someone we could bring in. Like, worst case scenario, hey, kid, you can at least do the basics, right? Bring him in. It would be like playing an NFL game, right, with no backup kicker or quarterback. Think of all the things
you were so bad that they wouldn't put you as a sub. You were so fucking bad they wouldn't put you as a sub. There's no drama. There's no conflict. You were just that bad where they determined you that you wouldn't even be a fucking sub.
I've got some info for you, Loco. You know what? I know some people in this scene. I went out there, I did a little bit of the old legwork. And I'm going to tell you, Akaadian, you're going to be very surprised by this, mate. Some other people who've played the jungle position in TSM, people who know them, and people around all of these people who I inquired with, said that actually, yeah, there's a lot of pressure on the jungle position when you're playing TSM. People will criticize you more than in other teams. You actually get assigned or things get put onto you that maybe aren't as much on the other players. So that's weird that they all had that. But in your case, I guess you're just pure shit at the game. My bad. My mistake. You know what? I'm willing to accept that, kid. You're just pure garbage. I saw you in Echo Fox. I wanted you to never be able to install League of Legends again. Then I saw you in TSM. I thought, this will be brilliant. Fuck Bjergsen. Yeah, well, he is fucked now, but at the end, you had to turn on us also. Actually, here's one of the things people don't understand. I'll tell you a very quick thing, Akaadian, and everyone like Akaadian in the world. There's actually a concept that people have studied in society in recent times, where when someone commits a social faux pas and all the SJW type people are attacking them, like, you can't say that, like, fire this person, right? The standard approach that people take from the 20th century is they think, right, what I should do is I should just come out and apologize. And if I apologize, it'll all stop, right? First of all, that doesn't tend to stop it anyway, because the people who are going against you aren't usually going against you because they're actually bothered of what you said. Normally they have a reason, like they want the company to do something different or they hate you personally. And the worst part is, this is the part people wouldn't expect. When they actually studied people's responses to scenarios like this, if you apologized, it actually got worse for you in terms of your like approval rating, because then even the people who were vaguely on your side felt betrayed. Like, what the fuck? Like, I defended this guy, and what? He apologizes and agrees he did the wrong thing. Like, what the? I was defending you, bro. So as a result, guess what? Everyone who thought you were shit still thinks you're shit, Akaadian. Everyone who hates you in TSM still hates you. The players in the fucking team still hate you, and the coaching staff's definitely never going to fucking play you in TSM again. But now you've pissed off all the people who actually liked you, who are actually on your side, and we're giving you some benefit of the doubt. So GG on that one. Your pathing on this fucking debate was pretty dog shit, and at the end, you got killed in a straight 1v1 by the other jungler. So that's the end of that, isn't it? So that was a despicable approach to take with us, you fucking clown. Anyway. Let's just skip that part. We've done all that. I don't think there's anything more to say. The one thing I want to ask was this then. So as I said, Croissant, you obviously worked with the guy in the past. I've already seen him play on those other teams. You know, I never know what he's like internally. Right? Can you give us some info? Is he a vocal guy? Is he a guy who wants to be self-directed? Does he want you to give him the plan? Give us some like your perspective on Akaadian the jungler.
So I've been coaching for just over a year now, and my first jungler that I worked with was Akaadian. And Optic just came off of a 5-13 split, and my goal was to I was brought on to work on a lot of the micro stuff, work on trying to make sure everybody had the matchups that they needed, and this was the roster with Dokla, Akaadian, PoE, Arrow, and Big. And actually, there was a lot of things that weren't totally solidified, where like our top lane situation, Dokla wasn't actually definitively the starter initially. There was Alarum versus Dokla, and then jungle Akaadian was the starter, but there were like talks at times about running Fnatic, who ended up actually following Akaadian to TSM as well to be their academy jungler when Akaadian moved up and Grig had wrist problems in the spring. But the main point was just working with Matt or with Akaadian. He obviously has like very high APM compared to most junglers. He can execute mechanically very well, and he's a hard worker, and he's very consistent, and he has a good attitude when working with his team. But he is not particularly vocal about what kind of game plan or what direction he wants to take the early game, whereas someone like Meteos will know exactly where he wants to go, why he wants to do it, and he'll make that decision, right? So I think Akaadian can play well when directed by his team, but that's quite difficult to achieve, right? If you think about Xmithy or any of the junglers that have really succeeded in North America, Akaadian was somebody that I couldn't give enough direction, and I always felt bad about that because I felt like if I were better at jungle specifically, I've been challenger, but never in the jungler role. So I had to learn a lot about pathing, and that was one of the main things that I focused on in between last summer and this 2019 spring. But when he went on to TSM and when he moved up, I was happy for him, but I didn't think he was as prepared as people thought. A lot of people viewed him as an upgrade to Grig because Grig has just been heavily criticized by pretty much everybody in the community for a very long time. But I always thought of Grig as a pretty smart jungler who just still wasn't at the level yet. And I thought Grig was better than Matt, better than Akaadian. But I thought that with the right direction, Akaadian could reach a new ceiling, and he did that in the spring. He still making certain mistakes that have plagued him throughout his career, and he still he hadn't leveled, his IQ didn't suddenly go up by 50 points, right? But he was playing with his team. He was playing in a different structure and in a different environment that I really was happy for him. That was better for him, and I have a lot of faith in Zix, Parth, and specifically Peter when it comes to jungle stuff. I don't think that Zix has plans out jungle pathing for people at all. That was pretty much Xmithy's thing. I think Zix worked more closely with Afromu when CLG was particularly successful. But yeah, so in that sense, I was happy for Matt, and I was happy for Akaadian, and TSM almost took it all, but I did not like how they handled the transition between spring and summer. I didn't. It was unfortunate that Grig. They probably deemed Grig to be who they wanted to primarily play with in the summer, but his wrists had issues. Yeah, his wrists had resurfaced, and those injuries, and people were very confused. Why are they splitting time? But the reason they split time was because they probably ran into there's a limit to how much a player can learn in a single split or learn in a single season, right? I definitely feel like Akaadian has improved over the course of Season 9, but he has some way to go before he's considered to be a top 4, top 6 jungler in the NALCS. And so because of that, these issues were probably recurring. They would talk about them in VOD reviews. And although TSM may have a reputation for destroying junglers, I don't really know if that's founded, and I'm not going to make that assumption because I don't
It's just a weird coincidence, isn't it? One of the biggest coincidences of all time. Believe it or not, Loco doesn't actually have a tradition of womanizing. He just has a lot of relationships.
That's actually a fucking rumor. That's actually a rumor. That's actually a rumor.
Thinking he's going to marry him.
Oh my God.
Just ends up being one night, and then he doesn't call him. His phone doesn't work sometimes. You've got to listen. Stop spreading rumors, guys. Stop dramatizing everything. Yeah, keep going.
If you had a jungler like Xmithy on TSM, there's just no way that they could ruin him. It's just
challenge accepted.
TSM has not gone for that, a player of that pedigree and a player of that and someone like Meteos has stated that he doesn't want to be on a team with a particular culture, but honestly, I know all of the players on TSM.
There's an oversight here that you've made, mate. That's going to collapse your whole argument. But finish the argument. I'll make the counterpoint.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're going to reference Svenskeren, then there was a lot of other factors, but
Oh, right. So, as usual, are you in fucking TSM? Are you in the TSM front office or something? What is this? Every time we nail you on something, it's just well, there's something else that you don't know and I don't know, and maybe...
No, that's really the only really established, Mike Young...
Right, the only one. My bad. Because the thing about Svenskeren is I don't know how much you've watched European League of Legends. Do you watch European League of Legends much over the years?
Yeah.
You used to watch it back in Season 4, Season 5?
Yeah, I've been watching since Season...
Right, in Season 5 Spring, Svenskeren might have been the best Western jungler He was a fucking monster who used to literally just fuck the other jungler up solo, just invade, just find him even without wards, just wreck the motherfucker. And as a result, the joke in his team, which was the one that was rated and forgiven, was like they didn't even need wards because they had a moving ward around the map and they always knew where the enemy jungler is. Right? That's who came and joined TSM. When he joined TSM, really good
performances on TSM.
Yeah, he did it, especially for early on and especially during the regular splits. But obviously, never did fucking anything Worlds, and he had a whole bunch of time.
But at Worlds is where he actually peaked on TSM, right? Like he was known for like the highlight plays and group stages. Like he was shitting on MLXG on a bunch of these like.
Yeah, 2016 Worlds, he was the best player on TSM. Yeah, I agree on that.
He was considered the best player on TSM. So I am not going to dispute that TSM has had historical cultural issues.
Okay, but the final part to add in is, you do know most people think he is the MVP of the entire league right now on Cloud9.
Yeah, I think...
Right, was he ever close to the MVP when he was on TSM? He was never even considered. He wasn't even considered.
I guess
he didn't have Sneaky as his
because
follower.
Guess what? They took him. They took a player they didn't understand. They took him to their team. Are you following this, Croissant? They used him in a way which no longer allowed him to be the player that he was before and was since, which was an MVP level player. And then after that, when they didn't have the success they needed, your logic is they didn't in any way do something to these junglers that makes them less successful.
Well, I mean, more so than putting words in your mouth, Croissant, like, what do you think of TSM and their relationship with junglers? Do you think they do actively hamper them?
I can give you I know that on other teams, if a jungler makes a certain mistake, if let's say you take out Akaadian's 10 most egregious mistakes over this regular split, and you put that into a scrim environment, and then people have 15 to 25 minutes to talk about, okay, how the fuck did this game go to shit? I'm sure like 8 out of 10 of the LCS teams will have the same level of animosity or shitting on their own jungler.
Okay, yeah, that's probably
that's the main thing that I'm contesting. And just the other things that might be happening where like Bjerg is pulling his jungler to like set up vision for him, but not actually going for a 2v2 or a skirmish, and having him like giving Akaadian the freedom to decide where he wants to pressure, what he thinks his spikes are in certain matchups. Like maybe that's something that TSM does poorly, but as for how they treat the jungler, how they incorporate them into his game plan, or at least into like reviews, I don't think their culture is just like, you're our dog, don't pull on the leash.
Right, listen, don't do that again. Don't do that again. I'm not going to let anyone on any show ever do this again. Right? Are you implying that the straw man is that our argument is that TSM sits the jungler down in a room and they all pull up their peat sheets and go, right, and it's like an intervention, and they go, my name is Bjergsen and I don't really care for you as a jungler. You are my fucking dog. I will be leashing you whenever I want, and you are never to play aggressive like you. Is that what you're suggesting our argument is?
No, I'm not suggesting
because it's a ridiculous straw man. So the point which whoever suggested that is implying that's like the underlying sentiment, Croissant. As in, I'm sure they tell him something like, just be a little bit less aggressive there. Or you know what, wait till the mid lane has priority before you do this invade. Like, there's other ways you could use coaching terminology to passively suggest the same thing, right? I'm not attacking you specifically. I'm just using, unfortunately, you're in a sense an avatar for like what I see as the typical counterpoint to it, you know. So you get my point on that one. Like, I don't think anyone specifically ever said that out loud. That'd be outrageous if you did.
I think.
But the thing that I think fans can take a lot of, like, let's say you guys are slightly hyperbolic for entertainment purposes on your show, right? And
of course,
Dom is saying in a joking way to Loco that, yeah, like, I heard at this party that everyone's just like, they go into a room and they don't pull out like these sheets, but they do shit on Akaadian for like 10 minutes.
By the way,
like,
Croissant, I'll totally acknowledge, by the way, I'll give you a concession. I'll totally acknowledge that if I had to guess how that went, even the first person was like, let's say it was Akaadian himself or someone involved in TSM. Whoever told the person initially, they probably said, oh yeah, it's going really rough in like the VOD sessions at the moment. Like, you know, people are kind of against Akaadian. And then that person told the next person, like, oh, they're fucking up Akaadian there. And then when they got to the next person who told like Loco and Dom, they were like, oh, they're fucking right in his ass and this bitch is just taking it. Like, yeah, obviously it got more sexy that's how rumors work. Yeah. Let's face it.
Okay, so I get that. That's how rumors work.
What I think happened.
That's how rumors work. But we heard it from someone way more direct and way more involved.
Reggie had too much, fucking Bacardi 151. Shit was getting lit. And then he just goes like, truth or dare, anyone? And then he kept fucking up the spin, didn't he? And obviously he would never do a dare, because the dare is recruit actually a veteran, competent international jungler who has success winning in history. And he goes, I'll never do that. I'll tell you everything about Akaadian. And then he goes, we were fucking this boy up. I told Bjergsen, this time, just tell this one directly you're going to use him like a dog. No, obviously it's a joke, but yeah. No, that's the point though, Croissant. Is like, the point to me basically is, you either have to do both scenarios, like Loco said. You either have to accept there's some seed of truth to it and explore that possibility, or you have to explore the possibility, which is that it's all in some way unfounded or sexed up way too much from something, as you say, quite every day. And then that's the other possibility. The other possibility, though, I think is more depressing for Akaadian, which is apparently he is just not competent in TSM, and all of his teammates and his coaching staff deem him so incompetent they won't even allow him to sit in the fucking room while they play and potentially come and join the game if one of the players trips over and snaps his arm in half. Like, they won't even allow him to do that, even though it's pretty obvious to me they had zero plans to sub that bot lane in. That's the part I think people still aren't getting. It's like, am I missing something? Or do people actually believe TSM would at any point in these playoffs have subbed their bot lane out? Does anyone actually believe that? To me, that's why actually, Croissant, the story vaguely made sense as someone who doesn't have any connections inside and hasn't heard this directly about Akaadian. Is because, think about it, like, it's one thing to bring in Spicker, but when you then say it, and by the way, my subs are everyone not called Akaadian, you're basically sending the message, fuck Akaadian. You may as well have bought a billboard next to the LCS studio saying, guess who's going to be playing in TSM next year? Just have a picture of everyone except Akaadian. Like, what the fuck are you doing when you do that, when you do those subs? Have I missed something?
You know what?
Why is no one else focused on that part?
You know what blows my mind? A week ago, the community perception was TSM management fucked up. They just should have started Akaadian from the very start. None of this like Grig subbing should have happened.
So, because the logic was maybe like the pressure, of the sub situation fucked him up or being put in for the wrong chat. Yeah, I think most people agreed with the Loco. They had a fairly reasonable.
That was the consensus regarding like TSM, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, they play Spica, like they did Akaadian dirty. Like, what the fuck is wrong? And then now like perception like flipped by Akaadian speaking up. I just, it blows my mind that Akaadian made those tweets where perception was favorable towards him. And he's basically saying, like,
I can understand why he made those tweets, right?
Yeah,
because
go on.
He really does feel a lot of gratitude towards TSM for like what he learned, how he grew through the experience. Obviously, it was very like, I don't think it was a good move at all by TSM to just do it that late into the season. And every player who I knew who read about the situation was just like, that's fucked up, or that's how could they do that?
It's weird, right? At least, yeah.
It's definitely raised a lot of questions, but like, what I would have wanted to do on that team was identify like 60 scrims in, or like, halfway through the split, that they should try Spica, and they should also have tried Treats and
why?
Tactical at some point.
No, I've got a point to say on this. Right?
Let me ask him a first question. Why do they need to do that when they've shown the high of that team is finals? What is it? 2 games up on TL. Why do they need to try those out? Like, why couldn't they have the confidence in Akaadian to deem him the starter from start of summer and build upon what they had in spring?
Because the meta changed a lot for them, and like whatever data they collected through scrims and through like, I don't know if it's valid to just say that because they achieved this high, that they should have just stuck with it and worked. That's like the same argument that.
Let me ask you this.
I do want to hear his side. Okay, I want to hear the reply to it. Like, why doesn't that argument work? Like, that's the high they achieved.
He just said, first of all, it doesn't make sense to only evaluate based on your high, and secondly, the meta's changed. Like, what more do you want?
Meta's always going to change. I mean, and
so what you wanted was something that he couldn't possibly answer. Like, he just gave you the reasons. Like, if you disagree with his point,
I think those are weak reasons. And then like, it's not like they're trying someone else. Like, here we have Akaadian, and then we're trying like a proven veteran world-class jungler. I know I spoke.
To be fair, Loco, you did say Akaadian as a small champion pool. It was pretty obvious, like in the original season. Like, even
with Akaadian, they almost got swept by C9 in the semi.
Also true,
right? And so, like, they could have reasonably thought that they would hit a higher high with Grig. They started off with Grig 4-0, 5-0, and if his wrist issues didn't go to shit, we could have seen a TSM that may not have hit the same ceiling, but how many scenarios, if you play back spring 2019, what percentage of those would have the same result with TSM finishing top 2, almost finishing top 1? A lot of people think that Broken Blade never showed the same level of performance. He showed some solid performance towards the end of the Clutch series, but he did not do. His poor management of the side wave, his Kled TP into the TSM.
Oh, that's another problem that we'll get into.
And running in, right? Like all of those things were issues throughout the summer split, and that made it harder to just isolate the jungle issue and be like, hey, like this is the thing that fucked us up.
There's a lot of variables.
Solo lanes, bot lane, suffering from confidence after what happened in spring. So all of that together, I just feel like they were trying to get back to that high that they saw in spring. That made it harder for them to actually pull the trigger and make the decision that they needed to give them a better, more stable chance of being a contender in the summer split.
I've got a couple of things I want to say here. One, on the latter point about the whole Akaadian sharing time with Greg and then Greg come back. First of all, I think this is one of the reasons why one day, if I ever get sick of journalism, the job I will do as general manager of a team is because I am ruthless in a way none of these motherfuckers are. Like, you know what? When I heard last year that Greg has wrist problems, I'm sorry, you won't be fixing those wrist problems in my team. Like, if you go elsewhere, and you know what? It's like when, I'll give you a perfect analogy here. One of my favorite players of all time in the NFL, Peyton Manning, right? At the end of I think it was at the beginning of the 2011 season, he had a massive neck injury that meant he had to actually have surgery where they fused the plates or whatever in the.
This was when he was on the Colts, right?
Yes. Yeah. And what happened was, just the season before that, he was still in one of the best NFL franchises and he was an MVP level player, right? But when he had this surgery, because the team then were able to get the number 1 pick and get Andrew Luck, who's a really sick quarterback, right? They decided to let Peyton Manning go. And in doing so, they let in theory, one of the best players go. But it's because no one could really know if he'd be able to come back. Like, if he came back and he was even vaguely less good, it wouldn't be worth the gamble of giving up a potential, future superstar who has gone on to be a very good player, by the way. And the point here is, but it actually turned out Peyton Manning went over to the Broncos, and immediately, the second year he played them, they broke all the offensive records in the history of the NFL.
The Four Horsemen.
They went to the Super Bowl. Then, obviously, a couple of years later, admittedly with a very different team that they retooled, and when Peyton Manning wasn't good, they actually won the Super Bowl even. Meanwhile, the Colts have never won the Super Bowl in the time. They once made it to the AFC finals or something. That's about it, right? But in both the scenarios, before they made the gamble and afterwards, you actually can't look and say the Colts made the wrong choice. It was very unlikely Peyton Manning would be as good as he was, whereas it was very likely that the player coming in had a chance to be better and for longer in terms of what was left of his career. So in that scenario, to a pleb, they would say, you have to keep Peyton Manning and be loyal to him. He was the great player. And what if he goes and is really good on the other team? But actually, I totally side with the Colts on that one, even though I prefer Peyton Manning as a player. I totally get that as a business decision. And I think that unlike getting sucked into the movie storyline, they did the right business decision. They looked at the numbers and the odds said you go with the young superstar guy who could be the next potential MVP of the league, right? In the same sense, as soon as TSM heard these problems, they should have cut them. You know why? Because if TSM is going to be a world championship org, you can't be sat around waiting for your main starter to get ready. That's another team can deal with that. That's a problem that now means it's not, unless it's Bjergsen, I'm not for any player sitting around for anyone on this team. And the idea you'd give this guy 2 or 3 cycles of having a fucked up wrist, and you're just waiting the whole time till the end, and then that's going to be a reasonable scenario. No, that's totally unreasonable. So TSM has to take some of the blame for that. And then I guess I've got 3 points. A very quick other point is, say Greg hadn't have been injured, there should never have been a split decision announcement. To me, split decision announcement says, I'm going to fire you, main jungler, if you don't succeed. So I only do that in very drastic scenarios. If you really thought Greg was better, then Greg is just, sorry, Akaadian, thanks for the spring split. You're the sub. That's it. Problem solved. There never has to be this drama. Then the third thing is, when you said that thing before, where you were saying, but Akaadian probably wanted to show that he was loyal to TSM and that it wasn't their fault. This is actually, believe it or not, I would make this point, Croissant. I believe that's the bigger problem than the entire thing. The bigger problem than how Bjergsen plays and how they recruit players for jungle and how European players come over and fail there, even though they're godlike European players. The biggest problem of all, in my opinion, in TSM, that Reginald has never been able to fix, and I don't know entirely if it still comes from him as a person, is that as an org, they still have the they still have the personality of Reginald in as much as he could be as much of a cunt as he wanted, provably, to his players, and they would get battered wife syndrome, and they would always argue that you don't understand him, and he's a great guy, and if you just knew what he'd done for me, and like, have you been talking to my mother again? Like, listen, he's just a great guy, and like, he's going to provide for me, and like, he took me in when I was nobody. It's like, listen, don't you understand that these are the words of a manipulator that you were repeating right now? Like, the whole reason a woman says those things is because that's what the man who beats her says. He beats her, and then later he goes, I'm so sorry, but you know what happens when I get angry, and you didn't have my dinner ready when I said, so listen, I don't want to do it again, baby, but you know the way I am like that. Like, don't, you kind of fucked up too. Listen, it takes two to tango. It's like, that's like the script a manipulator gets you onto, because he doesn't just want to manipulate you, he wants to keep you on that trend. So I'm not saying Reginald Slav did that, but TSM
let me go first on this one.
TSM the org has this mentality. That's why when everyone leaves, they can only say good things, even though explicitly there have clearly been problems in TSM orgs. But why can the players never talk like they would about any other org? Because there's this fucked up mentality. When people say, oh, there's a lot of pressure being in TSM, right? Fans isn't real pressure, right? You can just turn off social media. That means some of the pressure comes from inside the org.
Yeah. Okay. So
Fnatic doesn't need to do that. G2 doesn't need to do that. No org, Cloud9 doesn't need to do that. Why does TSM have to do that?
All right. In defense of Andy and in defense of people that speak up for TSM, even when TSM did them dirty or abused them, like, for me, like, of course, like, the obvious statement that people are going to make is Andy treated you nice because there was stuff to gain. Like, he wanted you as a coach. Like, Andy treated these players nice because there was stuff to gain. Like, he wanted you as a player. He wanted them to say nice things. Like, where I really, really changed my mind about Andy, and I always viewed our friendship as really genuine, but where I really, respected Andy even more so is after the Golden Guardian situation, Andy reached out to me. Andy reached out to me regarding, what is it? Do you need help getting on your feet? Do you need a job? Is there anything I can do for you? Like, that's like the position where I feel like I held so little value to most esport orgs and to pretty much like other people in the scene. Like, Andy helping me out there isn't like Andy manipulating me or like Andy, like, that's where I always viewed our friendship as genuine, but that's where I double down as like, will always respect Andy as a person, and if he needs a favor, like, he'll have a favor from me. So I'm not sure about the other cases.
What was wait a minute. What was the relevance of that to anything I just said about players who are active starting players in their team?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you talk about, what is it, people speaking well of TSM even after like they got done dirty.
No. I didn't say that. I
Okay.
said when people excuse what was done to them in TSM and imply nothing ever happened.
Oh, I don't think people need. I don't think that's correct.
Right? Do you want to know something that's going to blow your mind, Loco? This is actually going to make this might supernova your brain into a galaxy brain. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Right? Are you ready? I would actually guess, genuinely, most people who are wife beaters actually do love their wife. That's not a joke. I'm being serious. It's just that they have a fucked up personality, and in one area maybe only of their life, that's the way they express themselves violently, in a disagreement, in the way that they have reacted. Otherwise, you know what the problem? They actually can be they could be a loving husband for all you know, in all other scenarios. Like they're not all evil, you know. It's not some movie where it's like they just sat there like, I can't wait to marry this woman and beat her. Like, no, obviously not. Like, the person themselves might not even be able to control it. They might come from a fucked up background, might have happened to them for all you know. So the point isn't that they're like, so the argument was, right, I just go, yeah, from the way that the TSM org's been over the years, by the way, I'm not even speculating on this, I know dozens of people have been in TSM. From all the things that have gone on within the org, the way people's like way of responding isn't like any other org I've talked about, Fnatic, Cloud9, G2, give you all the examples. After all of that, right, your example was like, but one time I fell over and Reginald kissed it better and gave me a lolly. Shut the fuck up, bro. You know what? I'll just say this. Okay, one sec though. Every fan out there, you know what I'm going to do? I won't continue my part of this. I said my part. Just listen to what Loco did there. He did exactly what I was saying. Case closed. Right, go on, Croissant.
I think that when Akaadian spoke up, it wasn't right after. Think about the timeline, right? He didn't speak up in defense of TSM right after TSM announces the starting lineup, right? He's probably in shock. He probably they was communicated to him in some fashion, but no matter how it was communicated, it must have been very disappointing for a season to effectively end like that. Where he speaks up in defense and where he disputes what a lot of the community discourse is when it starts being about like the players that he played with and the way that the coaches feedback him or the players feedback him. And I don't have anything to say about TSM's management or Reggie or how they like treated Akaadian ultimately in the situation, if you think about it, like ethically or like even from a competitive standpoint, but just Akaadian spoke up because he didn't want Sven or Bjergsen or certain players to receive flack. And if the organization receives flack, then like I have no stake in that at all. I don't have a particular. I'm not like seeking a TSM contract or anything of the sort. I am just here to talk about LCS playoffs.
Yeah, obviously. Ignore an idiot who says that, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what they say when they don't have an argument.
Hold on. All right, moving on to a separate point regarding Broken Blade and regarding just imports in general. I think this is a syndrome that happens so much with imports that come to NA. Their best split is the first split they play in North America, and they will never hit the same level ever again. I think. Where
did everyone import Akaadian and Mike Young and Greg? Where did they get imported from? Oh, they were born in North America. Shall I tell you a secret?
What's up?
First of all, this is what happens to people who aren't that good as players. Happens in Counter-Strike. But what's great is because in Counter-Strike you play a tournament every month. You get exposed after 3 months or 2 months. You don't have to wait 6 months to get exposed. What happens is this. When you come onto the pro scene, it's the reason why upsets happen. Do you want to know the real reason why ANX probably was able to win a best of one over Rox Tigers? It's not that in any way.
They thought they were shit.
I doubt they even played, but exactly. ANX had like an experience advantage in as much as they could look at all the VODs of Rox Tigers, whereas it doesn't even help Rox Tigers to look at ANX's VODs. ANX's VODs are against other LCL teams. Also, the ANX team can go in with a mad fucked up game plan, and Rox Tigers is just going to play default League of Legends. Like, there are actually all these factors. The point is, we all know if the job of ANX was to play at Rox Tigers on the first of every month for a year, even if they won the first one, I'm pretty sure everyone would have Rox Tigers winning February, March, and the rest of the year, right?
They'd be the overwhelming favorites.
Once you get exposed to them, you get exposed literally. Like, everyone sees who you are. And the problem is, now they can offset your strengths. Now they can attack your weaknesses. Now they can defend against your strengths. Now they can even find, like, for example, in case of Broken Blade, maybe it helped in a particular meta that you had this extra advantage.
Sure.
So this is one of the reasons, by the way, I'll add in, why I also always give an extra level of benefit of the doubt to the evergreen player. Because the evergreen player has played his whole career. He has the most disadvantages against him in this sense, and yet some of them are still top players in the league. That's how you know they're legends who are going to go in the Hall of Fame. There's players who come along and have a great one split, 1.5 splits. It's like, if you think about it, right, I know you make your point, Loco. Like, it's certainly the case that imports have had this, but I would just say a lot of players in general have the one good split. It looks so promising. But then they never do it again.
It's a specific timing right after they get imported. They have that good split after they get imported. This isn't different from like players detouring. It's the people get imported. They have an amazing split and they deteriorate after because one, they don't put in the same amount of work, or two, they don't adapt to how to win in NA. In NA, it's about self-discipline because you don't have that good tool in solo queue anymore. Koreans, Europeans that come over, they feel like they suck. Grind out the 20 games in solo queue, figure out what you're doing wrong. In NA, you grind out the 20 games in solo queue, you just go mental. You become worse. You become even more frustrated. So they don't develop the tools required to get good in NA, and they just deteriorate over and over again, and it's a negative cycle. Like, we've seen so many cases of it, and it's really unfortunate. Like, Broken Blade, who's on like a 3-year contract with TSM, seems to go down the same path. Has the meta change?
I'll just tell you very quickly. The fact that he has a 3-year contract actually is a terrible deal, in my opinion, because like if TSM just wanted to bench him, they could have done that after season 1, as they probably will this time. So like, I'm amazed they even committed him to him for that long. It sounds kind of mad to me.
I mean, what is it? Like, of course the meta's changed, and of course they had jungle swap out, so it's a lot harder on Broken Blade. God, I just expected the same thing out of Broken Blade that I did out of Niski, where Niski and Broken Blade both showed a lot of promise in spring, and they look to be like import rookies. Like,
I know what you mean, but that's an unfair example because Niski had literally already played in both NA and EU, and in EU he already showed like consistency. You know, like he wasn't as good as he is now, but then again he was also playing in EU. But like, you know what I mean? Like, that's
the history is different. I agree.
If I had to pick between those two gambles, I'd take the Niski one way higher than I would the Broken Blade one. You know,
agree with you that I would take the Niski gamble. Also, like he's on C9. What is it, more stable? We can talk about all that, but Niski and Broken Blade, they both showed like flicks of brilliance like during spring. And if you just measure spring performance, Broken Blade showed so much more. And I like TSM better than I like C9. So it was just so fucking frustrating to watch like two promising new players, like new imports, and one flourish a lot in summer. And
it wasn't frustrating for me at all to see Broken Blade fail. And here's why. Because you know what? I tell you what's a way more egregious decision than kicking double lift. It's kicking Hodzer. So after 1 year, when the rest of your team was fucked as well, he had no jungler, you're going to kick a guy who was one of the most stable performers the entire time he was in your org. As far as I can tell, one of the coolest actual personalities to be within a team as well. Very diligent player and someone whose entire hallmark was that he could play both styles of top lane. And you kick this guy for some fucking hobbit from the fucking Turkish league who you just were like, oh, yeah, maybe he'll just be amazing and has another name like a blade that people like and so on. What a shit decision that was. Guess what? I'm fucking glad that decision. I hope he stays and plays all 3 years for you motherfuckers. I should get a court injunction where he has to play for you guys. Otherwise, you hate refugee status people. So I don't fucking know. Like, fuck you guys. This is disgraceful. Like, the way that they did Haunter was way dirtier. That guy gave you years of loyal service. You just fucked him after 1 year. Meanwhile, everyone else, like Sven, was allowed to stay and just be fucking garbage for a year. And then Haunter went to GGS, and what did he do? I'll tell you what he did, Loco. Over the course of this year, he had a fucking better year than Broken Blade did on average. The way worse set of teammates.
I agree.
Guess what? Fuck y'all.
I agree with you. What is it? Haunter had a better year, but in a sense, weren't you preaching ruthlessness for GMs? If they genuinely believe, that's what they believe, right? That Broken Blade would be someone like Bjergsen. Shouldn't they make that call, even if Haunter is still good, great, one of the better NA tops, if they believe Broken Blade is going to be another Bjergsen for them?
I personally don't think, based on Turkish league play and some tryouts, you can really know that a player is going to be better than Haunter. Like, to me, that's a bit of a... But, like, again, why is TSM the one doing these moves? Like, in the off-season, G2 didn't go, like, you know what? Fucking Yana was shit, wasn't he? Well, we've cut him, but we've recruited this guy who's never, ever played in any region we've ever cared about. He's the new starter. And by the way, he's got a 3-year contract. I'd laugh in their face if they did that. Like, no one's doing these moves.
TSM management, to a sense, to correctly believed that they are... What is it? They can discover new talent and they can do well with new talent. Like, they did it with Bjerg, they did it with Turtle. In a sense, they did it with Slush. In a sense, they did it with Centauran. Like, so...
Wait a minute. Is this real life? Did he just... Like, Croissant, you have to help me. I'm
going to get some water. I'll be right back.
Did you really just imply that Bjergsen joining TSM was like when Broken Blade joined TSM?
Well, no, they had options regarding more veteran players, and they always, like, they struck correctly in terms of going with a newer player or a player they felt like they had more potential, and it flourished.
First of all, as far as I know, that's a lie. Like, as far as I know, the choice that they had was they were talking to Expeke and they were talking to Bjergsen, and as far as I know, Expeke turned them down and they went with Bjergsen. So first of all, there's no choice. Secondly, that's not scouting talent. He was already clearly far and away one of the best rookies that Europe's seen in many years. Like, you could instantly, he was already a very, very good player. Like, he was considered like the 4th best fucking mid in the region, which is all the star mid laners. So the idea, like, TSM did anything. Well, TSM did nothing there. They just bought someone who, by the way, if he hadn't have gone to that team, could easily the next year have gone to a Fnatic, these other super duper squads.
Sure, but you don't think, let's say Peke is an actual option. We don't have to go into the discussion of, like, if he was an actual option or not. If he is an actual option and we go back to season 3, wouldn't 9 out of 10 GMs pick Peke over Bjerg?
Like I just told you, as far as I know, Expeke turned them down. Like,
so we don't have to talk about it if it's an option or not, but if it is an option, wouldn't 9 out of 10...
I would take Expeke 100% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, so... And TSM chose Bjerg over Expeke, or they supposedly chose Bjerg over XK, and it flourished.
Okay, let's just say they did then. Yeah, why not?
I'd say they probably didn't have the option for Peke, and TSM, I guess they're similar moves in that these talents were already fairly well known in their regions and were well respected by everyone who's worked with them. And they could get those players for a gamble. Like, I'm assuming Broken Blade was probably...
Yeah, if you want to shave some money, it's a pretty cool idea.
More so than shaving money, the point I'm trying to make is they gambled on younger talent or more potential talent, and it's worked out well for them before. So there is confirmation bias in the sense, like, we've done it before.
Well, okay, I guess I'll answer your original question. No, I don't believe that Broken Blade had more initial talent based on Turkish League and scrims than Haunter did. I think to do so, you have to be selling Haunter.
That wasn't my initial talent, or that wasn't my initial point. My point is, like, why are they making these moves? Like, you're asking, like, TSM as a top tier team, like, what you do at the top tier team is you just pick up proven talent again and again and again. Like, you're not a development team. The development should be from lower tier teams,
most teams,
mid-tier teams. But that's historically that's not how TSM has done it from their point of view. I know people are going to mention they bought Missy, they bought Double.
Why don't they develop something new, a fucking time machine, and go back to season 4? You can go with them and you can all have a great fucking time. See ya.
Season 4 was good times. I'll take it again. But I'm telling you, Like, instead of just
being then I'll go back in time also, and I'll just go one day before a certain incident in Taipei, and I'll go, Svenskeren, I'm going to tell you not to type that, mate. And then all of a sudden, you'll be out in group stage. SK Gaming will be playing in the playoffs.
Hopefully, Beer picks Yasuo into Jigs instead of Syndra, and I think we win that game anyways. I'll try to go back 2 days before. But anyways, like, instead of just, like, shitting on TSM for being like, oh, why did they do this? Why did they do this?
Could have done a rude one. I keep going.
I'm telling you, what is it? Kind of why they make those decisions.
Anyway, whatever. I was just thinking of other things I could do with a time machine that involve you and your life and making it not happen. But
if you had a time machine, you're so petty. You had a time machine. You're so fucking petty. You wouldn't better your life. You would fuck with my life.
I would just fuck with my enemies. Yeah, just go back and make your lives worse.
Oh my god, if I have a time machine, I'm not working in esports. That's for sure. We're never fucking talking. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, listen. If you had a time machine, you wouldn't even. If I had a time machine, you wouldn't even exist. So
that's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna better your fucking life. Oh my god.
It's gonna delete you. And what's great is it's a one-use time machine. Once I've done with it, it's just over. I get teleported back to the time, and they go, "That's all you used it for." And I go, "Listen."
The real joke is that.
Hey, come on.
Thorin's already used the time machine, and everything bad that's ever happened to you.
Yeah,
Loco, it's because.
See, Loco, what happened was I'm
living a pretty good life. If that's what you did with your time machine, you didn't do a good enough job.
In the non-time machine version, right? After season 4, you actually
won worlds. We won worlds out of you.
No, not that ridiculous. You still had the same results, but Amazing decided to sustain the team. You built up. You actually became one of the best teams. Right now, actually, it was actually TSM who finished top 4 at Worlds last season. But I couldn't just. I was so disgusted by that. I went back in time and I did all these like subtle little moves, and I basically that's the reason it all came this way. Why do you think I was doing that? How do you think I was ready 1 second after they lost that Worlds to say that and then start singing like all that stuff? I planned the whole thing, motherfucker. It's like the Prestige. You don't even know till the last act.
It's fucking insane. When I think time machine,
how do you think I even positioned Reginald to have to come to me, ask me to work with him?
For the CS.
Never ever apologizing to him for anything. He doesn't have any apologies, you know.
Damn. When I think time machine, I think crypto, I think Apple stocks, and then Thorin thinks ruining Loco's life, ruining TSM's life.
No, I'm not about money. I'm about just reducing the amount of harm and evil in the world. I'm Buddhist.
Oh my god, I would make a comment about reducing harm and evil in the world, but I'm not that mean.
Yeah, because why would you want to just delete the TSM org entirely and let a new LCS team join in their slot that wasn't abusive to their players and didn't ruin people's lives who play the jungle position?
All right, enough about TSM. We have so many other teams to talk about. Get us to a different topic, Thorin.
Well, what about this? We'll close out this series by doing this. We should obviously talk about the clutch side of the equation. So, like I alluded to at the beginning, I know this on paper looks great. Like, wow, Clutch beat TSM in a best of 5. Like, first of all, this is the worst TSM I think I might have ever seen in a playoff ever in my entire career. And it's not like they were all brilliant, by the way. Sometimes they started out slow and, like leveled up as they went through the playoffs. But this was a really bad TSM lineup. And then secondly, like Clutch played marginally better, but I didn't think Clutch was that impressive in this series. Like put it this way, watching this series didn't make me hyped for like, hey, maybe Clutch can do something against Team Liquid. It was like, holy shit, they are going to get destroyed by Team Liquid. So I personally wasn't a huge fan of Clutch in the series. What did you actually like about them? What did they do that you enjoyed, either of you?
They're giving, like, like in Chopped, like the cooking show where you're giving like random ass shit and you're asked to make a good dish.
Right.
I think that's what Clutch did. Like they were giving, like the coaching staff was given so much random pieces and they had such a short time to put together a coherent roster and to put together a playstyle that worked. Like from a team that should have been 9th and 10th to going to playoffs to getting 5th seed, not even 6th seed, and beating TSM. Like I think it was pretty amazing, like what they have accomplished. Are they going to get 0-3 by TL? For sure, they're going to get 0-3 by TL. But you have to give props to TL or Clutch coaching staff for what they're able to accomplish in that amount of time.
I would not be surprised if Clutch took a game off of Liquid in semis. I think that Liquid is susceptible to a lot of the strength that CG has, but not over the course of 5 games or 3 losses. So ultimately, I think Liquid will still be stronger. But I also would say that I have a lot of respect for Clutch's players, and I do like their staff. Like I like Thinkard, and I think he should have had a position in the LCS much earlier. But in case people don't know, what happened was, I don't know, weeks 5 or 4 or maybe even 6, Clutch picked up. They had coach Mick Scraggs, and they picked up Thinkard, and Artemis was their academy coach. I don't know for how long, but for a period of time. And then like a week after Thinkard was on the team, they fired McScraggs or parted ways with him, and then Thinkered and moved up, and so did Artemis. But I think Clutch already had the pieces, and they didn't just like do some magical shit. All they had to do was make sure that Huni was playing by the fundamentals, that Lyra was having the proper communication that he needed to with his solo lanes, and that bot lane was getting the matchups that they wanted. And so I think Clutch has some pretty telegraphed draft strategies. They have very clear. They always have like 2 to 3 bot laners that they want to play, and Vulcan is very consistent on those picks. But I think in terms of depth, Core JJ should be able to bust out a lot more. Doublelift should be able to bust out a lot more. Mid lane, Jensen and Demonte would be interesting because I don't think Jensen plays Kiana very proficiently, but Jensen has his own pocket picks. So seeing how they punish Demonte and how the pressure may get to Tanner in that respect is going to be interesting. I think Xmithy is superior to Lyra, and that Lyra can't just blind Skarner and get unpunished in this best of 5 against Liquid. And then also for top lane, Impact can definitely soak. He can definitely have more impact. I need to find another word. He can have more of an effect than Broken Blade did with counter picks and with options against, like, again, Huni blind. They see a Kali, they pick GP Skarner. That has to be punished. And TSM wasn't the team to do it, but Liquid should be able to. Liquid can't just ban out 3 champions because Clutch it has like. They need to see 2 steps further, right? Like the first step is what are our most effective bans. The second step is like how far the draft can we predict. And I think against Clutch, you can go down to 4 or 5 bans and know like there should only be 3 or 4 plausible scenarios. And then when you hit your 4 or 5s, you just need to make sure that your comp looks good, and TL should outperform Clutch.
If you remember, Loco, I even actually said when we were talking about GGS earlier in the split, or maybe it was the end of last split, that I would 100%, at the time he wasn't in the league playing actively, I said I would 100% have traded definitely for Cody Sun. Yeah. Like, I think Cody Sun's actually an all right player. His problem was he just didn't fit the style of team that 100 Thieves was. So I actually think he looked pretty good in that series they played. The problem is, exactly, it's the wrong semi-final to play if you want your AD carry to be the best player, isn't it? You're playing against the best player ever to come from the region, maybe at any position in Doublelift, and you're not going to get much in the bot lane anyway. Both of the players in the bot lane are amazing, so I don't really see how you get any advantages if you Clutch.
Damn, it's going to be so sad for Clutch. I think they're going to go underrated the entire fucking season despite them doing well, because they're going to get smashed by Team Liquid. And they're going to get smashed by Team Liquid, not because Clutch is bad, because it's fucking Team Liquid. Like, that roster is so stacked. And as you said, like, Clutch is like stable bot lane. Like, Clutch is playmaking mid lane. Clutch is playmaking top lane. Like, it just matches up so bad versus TL. They're going to get 0-3, and they're not going to get the credit they deserve. But to cap it off, I think the amount they improved and what they did with their roster and the amount of time they had is just amazing and deserves so much credit. I know Croissant talked about ways that Clutch can win. I don't think it's gonna happen. TL's way too good. And it's
obviously if TL just played shit, like, they'll give them a massive chance, but I still don't think they would win this. Like, the problem is Team Liquid has too many good players, mate. Like, the odds that they all do bad in one game, like, they're not fucking TSM, mate. So, right, let's go to the other semi-final, quarter-final, round of 6. Whatever, fuck you, make an actual bracket. So, because by the way, I'll just say that again. I'll just make my one final comment because they're never going to change it. But I actually fucking hate any tournament that involves buys. Why would I want to not see the best teams play more games? Like,
because it's like it's final boss. It's like final boss, and teams like having a buy. Like, it's just
they did it because of the NFL structured that way, and they're fucking idiots. And I can actually tell you for a fact that people within the Riot offices used to literally go into meetings, and they literally knew, if I just give the example and I say it's like the NFL, it's way more likely to get through to this mad fucking ridiculous.
Okay. I'm not saying it's correct, but they wanted League to be more like sports. Like, they wanted sport investors. Like, they got like a broadcaster that used to work in like a traditional sports sense. So, yes, like, they do want it that way. I think that's completely clear.
Doesn't make any sense, of course, because only the NFL does it that way. You fell into my trap. The NHL still has the first number 1 seed plays the 8th seed. The NBA has the number 1 seed plays the 8th seed. You know why, Loco? Because more games with the best teams in the playoffs is more hours watching, and it's more for the sponsors to sell. Actually makes less sense than what you just said. It only makes sense to people who follow the NFL. So anyway, I don't know why you're even arguing this. It's not fucking.
I'm not arguing. I'm just telling you, like, Duncan, instead of like the show isn't just going to be you say something and then I agree with you. Like, I sometimes will play devil's advocate and tell you like what the other side is thinking.
Oh, really? Because I thought what happened was no matter what I said, you try to disagree, even if you use different words to say the same fucking thing as me at the end. Sit there and think, I'm helping. It's like, you're like, put the fucking lab coat on, now you can. Like, Croissant, what did you think of CLG versus Optic, your beloved Optic game? Because as I alluded to, I don't think actually that Optic was bad. It's just I don't think you had a very good matchup. I think this was like the worst team you could have played of them all.
Yeah, so what I could say to what I'm probably supposed to say to other people is that we exceeded expectations given our roster, right? Like, we were slated to be 9th in spring, and then after our spring performance and upgrades that other teams like CLG made, people thought we would be 10th for summer. And we finished like 6th or 5th, whatever. And like, if we got a different draw, if we had played better towards the end of the split, well, we wouldn't have had to play against CLG in the 3rd, 6th place match. But ultimately, I'm really disappointed in myself, mainly. I feel like I was pretty burnt out. I was also like ill and sick. I wasn't sick at all. I was sick like once in the last 8 months, but I got pretty sick between Tuesday and Thursday, and I wasn't able to contribute as much as I had been in the previous few weeks. And I think that Weldon and Irene did a much better job than Zab and I did in the last week of preparation. I think they had better drafts. I think they had better. They definitely had better level 1s, better game plans, and the team overall had more composure. And obviously, everybody knows that we lost with 4 Barons in the game 1. That was a really big mental factor. Like, regardless of whether we were against the mental mind games mastermind himself, we would have probably just...
Weldon's so genius, he actually did the opposite. He lost 1 game to give you hope.
Yeah, but he wasn't able...
The opposite of the CLG
He wasn't able... We outsmarted him because we actually lost that game. But yeah, the team...
You missed the joke. We'll keep going, yeah.
I don't fault any of the... I don't think any of the players were individually... particularly outmatched. I think that there were certain matchups that had gone a lot better for us in scrims, and we just didn't recreate the same conditions that needed them to happen on stage. For example, like Xayah, why would we take Xayah when we know they can play Cave Ward? Well, we did that against Team Liquid. We did that against a lot of teams, and we wouldn't take the Rakan later on. We would take the Karma, right? So we end up with Xayah Karma, and in that 2v2, we were able to create a lot of advantages, but...
Wait a second, I'm confused. What was the complaint people had? Why wouldn't you pick Xayah?
If you take Xayah 1 and 2, sometimes you get locked into playing Xayah Rakan. An enemy team can easily draft their 2 and 3 counters, like Xayah or Caitlyn Morgana.
So
or
we're red
Morgana.
Side and they're blue side.
Right.
They first pick something. We take 1, 2, a prio pick like J4 or something plus Xayah. They go Caitlyn Morgana. On 3, it's Karma. It's a support pick, but it's also flexible and it's...
Did you do this already to trick them, basically?
Yeah, so we did it, but like they could reasonably expect that, okay, they're going to send Karma into the bottom lane because there's nothing else that could punish Caitlyn Morgana as much with the Xayah. But like level 1, they 5-manned, walked through bot brush, upwards, we didn't spot them, arrow dies right near blue buff or underneath blue buff on red side, and the lane matchup is changed entirely afterwards. And we didn't... After that, we're kind of just like, okay, bot lane is kind of fucked. What else do we do? And we try to make plays on mid top side. And yeah, that's just like an example of one of many things that went wrong, but we were outclassed. And in terms of, if you guys want me to talk about like actual analysis,
I've got a
like,
question for you. Why put Crown on Corky twice? Because I have to say, I know it's considered a strong pick. When I watch it in NA, it's a fucking garbage pick. It's just people do nothing on it.
I think, so CLG showed and this is something that PoE has a tendency to do. He will prioritize a pick that you really just don't expect him to prioritize. Everyone thinks that he only plays Orianna or Syndra, these kind of control mages, right? And Azir falls under the same boat, but even when Azir's not commonly first picked. And to get his team an advantage in the draft, he'll just take it. And he'll be like, okay, we have 1 week until we play against Optic. Let's just play Azir first pick in all of these drafts.
Every matchup, let's find it.
Every matchup, let's find it. And if I can make it work, then I'm going to take that. And then we're going to get good bot lane, good jungle matchup, or top lane matchup. And so he did that. And Crown's punish on Azir was like, some people would play Kiana there, right? That wasn't in his pool. Corki is widely considered to be a fantastic pick into Azir. It loses lane early, but sometimes if you're Corki, you can get slight edge on first package timing. Corki usually is able to help secure the Drake, and Azir can't. And then Corki should outscale Azir, but in that game, like, you didn't see the scaling at all, because all Azir was pressured to do was clear the waves under inhibitor towers, whereas when you have to fight in an open space over a Baron, like, Azir is a lot more vulnerable. Corki can poke him out. He needs to base and reset, but Azir was never even far from his base, right? We had 4 Barons and we weren't able to take the towers. We weren't able to pressure on the same waves or sync the waves properly. But that's also because CLG did things that no other team in NA would usually do, not even Liquid. And so because of that, like...
Wait, isn't that on you guys? When you guys have them shoved in, and you guys can't sync 2 waves together. So how you sync waves is, like, it's incredibly easy. So you send a support or you send someone, the side laners, or side lane takes longer to get to the base than the mid lane, because mid lane is straight. So you send a support to a side lane, and they speed up the Baron wave to make sure the 2 waves come at once.
The
Big
Baron
never moved.
Give minion speed anymore.
Really?
Yeah, that was changed. How you sync waves is...
Wait, no way.
Got put out of the VOD there, Loco.
Okay. I actually want to look it up, because people still do that. People still fetch waves.
Minion speed is kind of weird now. It also kind of depends on...
I forget your Loco. It's okay, man.
I don't forgive myself if I'm wrong on that, because...
Yeah, obviously we didn't.
I actually went back in time before this episode began and changed so that the Baron doesn't give minions.
Empowered minions gain bonus movement speed equal to 90% of the average movement speed of all nearby champions, capped at 500.
I mean, I can show you, but I tested in scrims a lot and I tested in customs. If you take it, if you have the Baron and you walk next to your super minions, or not super minions, just like melees, casters, it'll start at like 400 or 420 and it'll remain at that speed with the Baron buff.
Okay. It must be a huge bug, because people still fetch minions. Like, people still go back and fetch minions.
The main reason they fetch the minions is so that somebody can't cross and...
even when people are shoved into base, people still fetch minions. And, like, from Law Wiki, unless Law Wiki is also wrong, or, like, because it also has all the patch notes, there's never been a patch note change where it says, like, they changed the Baron movement bonus. So it's been, like, a long-term bug or something. I'm actually super curious on this one, because I'm pretty sure it still does speed up.
You can check. It should, but the main thing that we did wrong when it came to syncing the waves was we didn't hold the waves far out enough. The first Baron that we took was a sneak Baron, right? We took it at literally on spawn at 20 minutes. They took either Infernal or they took something else, and we snuck the Drake. CLG didn't know, but we weren't able to take more than like 1 or 2 towers with it. It's a 20-minute Baron. After that, we took another Baron, and then we missed the first 2 waves, and then when we tried to sync it, CLG sent 3, because it was already unsynced, and we were holding the wave on topside, and they fast cleared it, and then they were able to come mid and catch it in time. But we were as soon as we were finally able to break a top tower, the mid tower, we were pressuring mid tower, and Arrow got flashed on by the Rek'Sai, and he was overstepping, and he died. And then after that, we started trading Elder Drakes for Barons, and Barons for Elder Drakes, etc., etc. And we just misplayed a lot. There's like a lot of pressure on the team, and CLG has better communication than us for sure, from what I've heard on their comms and from what I've heard on our comms as well.
That's one area I have to give TLG a lot of credit. It's like, first of all, they look like a team where I could believe they've done a lot of work with their comms, because their actual like teamwork is so good. And actually one area that for a lower team with players who you don't expect to necessarily win LCS, their ability to actually close out games usually is pretty fucking good. Like, there's one thing I think a lot of LCS teams struggle with. They look pretty clean.
I mean, CLG, I think, is a team that's going to struggle internationally and struggle versus top tier teams, but they're so fucking good at playing teams below them. because they make so little mistakes and they're very clean in their system. So once they get going, unless you're better than them and unless you're pushing them and making them uncomfortable, they'll win a lot of times. But if you are better than them, if you can contest them, if you don't let them run their system, that's where they get really heavily pressured.
That's why I say, like, I think both TSM and Clutch Gaming would have, I think they would have gotten torn up by CLG. Like, for a start off, CLG can 1-3-1. Half these teams can't even fucking deal with that.
Yeah. Dude, one thing I also want to ask about is, like, Meteos Jarvan has been so interesting to watch, and it's been one of the most efficient champions for Optic, especially for Purple side. So what Meteos have been doing is he's been doing so many different path things on Jarvan. So on Purple side, he'll start red. So he did this one gank where he went red all the way to bottom and then got a gank off. So people started waiting for that. And then so he delayed the timing a little bit and he started doing red to blue to bottom. And then after people figured that out, he started doing red to blue to jump Dragon Wall to bottom to dodge the ward that people were initially planning for. And then on this series, CLG watched Meteos the same way like other people have been tracking Meteos, and they warded 2 different entrances for bot side because Meteos on purple side Jarvan does that gank on bot side in 3 different ways. And then he didn't gank bot, and then he just full cleared. So CLG just wasted all their early wards. I'm not sure if it's like Meteos actively planning it or someone from like Optic teaching it, but what he's been doing with like Jarvan and just jungle pathing to get small leads has been so fucking good. And one of the core reasons, like, Optic has really good early game.
Remember, Loco, don't let any of that information pierce the impenetrable fortress of the part of your brain. That cognitive dissonance allows you to pretend means you don't want Meteos to ever play for TSM. Don't ever let any of that shit get in.
Meteos doesn't want it. TSM doesn't want it. Right. No one wants it. No one wants it.
That's all, viewers. He did exactly what I said. Thank you, Loco. That's all I wanted you to do.
Oh my god.
I agree. He's a fucking next level genius compared to half the fucking clowns playing that position in your country. Meanwhile, for Loco, what he does is, like, him and the TSM staff, he's very close to them still, close personal friend. Like, Reginald actually called him out of a burning car one time. No one knows Reginald actually set that car on fire and actually told the guy to crash it. But that's how Reginald works. He's 2 steps ahead like Meteos. So anyway, what happened was Reginald, Loco, and the rest of the TSM staff, the way they scout junglers is they take them to a county
I don't work
fair.
For TSM.
No, you do in this scenario, though. You take them to a county fair, right? And then whoever gets the top score on whack-a-mole, you're like, he's got a lot of potential. I like the mechanics, the aggressive whacking of the ball. So you bring him on, sign him up. This like 5-year contract, $700 million. We're trying to develop talent here. And then when he just fails, you're like, whatever, at least it wasn't Meteos. If there's one thing I'll never do, it's recruit a quality jungler like Meteos or Smithy. Fucking scrubs.
I'd never argued against Xmithy on TSM, but sure.
But that is some next level shit, though. Here's the thing, Loco. I don't even think it's ruined now that you've said it. I'm not joking. If you just made a video where you just showed from the VODs what you've just described now with the actual VOD, I bet people would be mega interested. That sounds pretty good, actually. Might only be a short video, but that'd be pretty interesting to see, because the idea that Meteos just knows that everyone watches the last thing he did and somehow actually then paths differently is pretty clever. Because what people don't realise, by the way, let's just go ahead and throw this out there, because it needs to be said, is fans are going to think, well, why doesn't everyone just do that? It's like, not every jungler can just do every path in the game, and at will. Like, they have to plan out the concept of what they're going to do, what's going to make sense, what's efficient in the game. Like, some of these paths obviously are probably less efficient.
A lot of this pathing are called cheeses, and people viewed it as cheese. Like, starting red and then ganking all the way bottom, they're like, no one fucking does this. This is a scrim tactic. Like, this isn't something people are going to do in actual games. Meteos did it in actual games. European teams did it in actual games. People doing red, blue, and then skipping the Dragon Wall. This wastes so much fucking time. You burn so much mana. Like, you're not clearing fast enough. People actually fucking did it, and they started respecting it. Like, the initial thought around these was, these are fucking cheeses. And in terms of junglers that actually do this, a lot of the European junglers do, like, new kind of path things. And in NA, Sven and Meteos do this a lot. Xmithy doesn't really do a lot of creative path things, but Xmithy is ready to counter a lot of things.
Fair enough.
And Crown, what's your 2 cents on all this?
Croissant. Just call me Crown.
Oh, holy shit.
He wishes he was Crown.
What's your 2 cents on all this?
Not least because apparently he knows how to play fucking Corky.
Sorry, I was just clarifying something about the...
He was just saying...
Racist.
No, sorry, we don't need Akaadian to join us as sub for next season. Actually, we're cool, actually, that's fine. But thanks for the offer, Akaadian. And also for the PayPal.
Yeah. Meteos is a very efficient... he can be very efficient, or he can be very as Loco described, cheesy, in the sense that he exploits what the enemy team, he thinks about what the enemy team is thinking or the enemy jungler is thinking, and will read that and try to punish it or exploit it or work around it. So in that sense, he's definitely a very, very cerebral jungler, and I think that impression of him in the community is correct. I think one interesting thing that I found boggling throughout the entire season was when people thought that Crown and Meteos had really strong synergy and were like very strong 2v2 mid jungle duo, and I don't get where that impression comes from because we don't have that many 2v2 skirmishes around mid. We're not like Svenskeren and Niski in the way that we have a system where we move around the map together as mid and jungle, and also Meteos' jungle, if you look at his proximity, it's not like overwhelmingly mid lane either. So I think Crown generates a lot of his advantages by himself, 1v1 or 1v2.
I believe when Zab was on the show, it didn't even imply that like typically Meteos has a tendency to gank top anywhere.
I think that tendency, I can see it.
Unless I'm mistaken, but I think he said something like that when he was talking about Doppler.
Yeah, I mean, that'll happen in scrims when we're figuring out matchups, but on stage, I also don't have access to that, or I don't have that data readily available, but I think Meteos just, he always shifts his game plan, and he doesn't have like a strong tendency. He might gank top lane more than bot lane or something of that sort, but there was also a large period of our split where we only ganked bot, right? If you looked at how we executed our game plan against Team Liquid in the game where we were like 7k up on them, that was primarily through bot ganks and through pressuring the Yuumi, right? Even though they have Lucian Yuumi, which pretty much no team leaves up anymore. We played against it in week 8, and we definitely should have been able to close out that game. But
was that the Nautilus Draven game?
Yeah, that was the game where we.
Oh, that was the Impact Aatrox
got our
game.
Baron. Yeah, we got our Baron. We one-shot Aatrox. We walked mid. We tried to one-shot Aatrox again. He flashed out. Stopwatch flashed out, and then we tried to dive really deep for it, and it was just a mistake there. But yeah, we dove mid tier 2. It should have been fine, but we fucked up literally everything. There were like 6 different things that we fucked up. We fucked up Poppy E onto like, if J4 ulted and then we Poppy E, either they have to flash out preemptively or they're just stunned onto the J4 wall and dead, right? But we E'd the Yasuo out and he was just free to back up. We dove really deep for the Aatrox and he turned and they killed like all of us. And then after that, we like came back, and like the thing about playing against Yuumi, and this is something that I'm really interested to see if it's something that will show up in LEC or even NA playoffs, is if you leave Yuumi open, there are ways to punish it. But Yuumi is just such a game warping champion that if you make more than 2 or 3 mistakes in like the period of time from, or just like across the whole early to mid game, then you're going to be punished very hard for it, and you're going to feel like you don't have any more options because it's very all or nothing. It's very high risk, high reward. So that's something that we weren't willing to do against CLG, but I think if there are any of the teams, if you think about CLG, C9, TL, and Clutch, that Clutch, they banned Yuumi. They've been pretty consistently banning Yuumi, but I can see them going for that option. And then C9 as well, I can see them going for that option as well because CLG hasn't shown that much. Like, CLG's not super comfortable on Yuumi, right? It's not something that they picked up that they were innovating early on in the split. They were just primarily Lux players. And
outside of scrims, isn't it hard to know if people play Yuumi or not? Because Yuumi spans so often. So even if you practice Yuumi, you're not going to get the chance to show it.
If you have data on people from like 2 weeks prior, or like CLG and C9 must have scrimmed leading up to our quarterfinal, right? Like knowing that and seeing like, okay, let's, out of our 6 games, let's leave 1 game of Yuumi open and let's see how they respond to that. And then you just build a plan off of that. It's still a risk, right? Because they can train these things. But think about like across 24 games, if 15 of those are bios playing like Nautilus, Braum, Zyra, Nami, and then he's just on stage and he has to play Yuumi against the comp that was like really, really crafted, then it could be punished. But it's not something that I think C9's that likely to go for, because I think the champions that C9 would use to punish Yumi and punish CLG are going to be targeted or banned out by CLG regardless of whether Yumi's open. So
here's a question for you. Since on paper this is 2 versus 3, and this is a team that obviously they've even gotten a win off C9 in the regular split, even though to be fair they did lose their game and then they obviously lost the tiebreaker, right? Is there a world in which CLG can actually win the best of 5?
Yeah, I definitely think so. CLG and C9 have probably the two most unique, but also the two most different play styles in North America. And I think we saw how, I mean, C9 is very, very momentum based, and they can dominate CLG, but I can also see them being unable to deal with the depth that it's really hard, because you could talk about this for like an hour straight about the difference in champion pools, right? If you think about Zazal was receiving a lot of criticism this split, and then he's put on Alistar, he's put on a bunch of these engaging champions that nobody else is playing that frequently in North America, and he's also probably going to pick up a Bard. He's very comfortable on that. He has a lot of champions, and then Biofrost is the only one playing Nami, Zyra, and he can also pull out Morgana and those kinds of champions. So those two are clashing pretty, and there's a lot of different draft options for both of those players. The AD carries are like the most similar in terms of champion pools, right? Like both Sneaky and Stixxay value Caitlyn. Both of them play Zyra Khan. There's Sivir. The only interesting thing is Sneaky probably prioritizes Ezreal a lot more than Stixxay. Mid lane, you look at PoE versus Niski. Again, it's just like totally different champion pools. Niski wants to prioritize the Irelia. He wants to prioritize probably Kiana, Akali if he can play it. And then he also has Talia. So there's like the melee assassins, and then there's the champions that will shove in really hard. Whether PoE's playing Azir or Orianna, it doesn't matter. He can't contest Talia at all. And if Talia can get a gank off bot like he did in the game where Caitlyn was up like 50 CS on the Xayah, that's going to be really punishing for CLG. If he can do the same thing on the top matchup, that's also really scary for CLG.
Let me
jungle
instead of going one by one, let me ask you on this part. CLG, their last 10 opponents have been like FlightQuest, 100 Thieves, Optic, including like the best of 5 you guys played. Like they haven't played top tier opponents. The only top tier team they played is Cloud9 in their last 10 games. They won the first game versus them, where like Wiggly and Svenskeren matched up, and CLG played Sona, and then they got destroyed in the tiebreakers. In their recent form, like despite them looking really good, isn't it just against not bad teams, just against lower tier teams, and they haven't seemed that amazing versus the top tier teams like TL and C9? The only game they have won is from like the before, and then you have to go all the way back for like the TL ones. Like they look great when they play teams worse than them, but when they play teams at the same level or a little bit above, shouldn't we be a little bit worried?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's true. But if you look at C9's record, they have been pretty shaky and hit or miss. Like they had a strong showing against Liquid. Mm-hmm. They had a strong showing against CLG. Mm-hmm. They had a good showing against us, but we like completely collapsed. And I think C9, I actually am less confident in C9's draft and preparation than I am in.
Just to clarify something, right? So when Licorice had to sit out that game because he was ill or whatever, what was he actually ill with?
Licorice? Well, you mean like before, leading up to Rift Rivals, entirety of C9 house got sick, and then Licorice separately had a hand injury or wrist injury.
Right, because obviously the problem with those is those never usually get completely fixed. So is it implied that he's in any way still suffering with that, and he's not 100%?
From what I know, I don't have the playoff rosters, but it's Blabber and Deathly for their subs. So C9 feel confident enough where they don't have to put someone behind Licorice.
Yeah. No, but even the idea that if he was even 10% worse, though, would be a significant factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But CLG hasn't consistently beat top teams. So that's where I'm like, we talk so well of CLG. Sure. Let's look at their last 10 games. Like, let's look at their recent form. Good, but who are they playing versus? What happened when they matched up against like actual top tier teams? So that's where I get a little bit scared for CLG. Like on paper, this looks great, but when you go a little bit nitty gritty.
Well, you can also even throw in as well. Obviously, for people like Ruin and Wiggly, it's absolutely possible they could just have a shit game because of the pressure of being in a massive match and being an underdog. That could easily happen too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, C9's obviously like they've been there before. All of the players, they've all been in this scenario. In fact, they're used to winning when they get into this situation. So, like, I think like to me, I kind of do actually think the rosters actually match up reasonably well. Like Licorice obviously isn't 100%. He's definitely not the player he was last year. Sneaky's had his own issues, no matter how many times he tries to fucking snopes.com what everyone else says. Like, it doesn't ignore the facts of the matter, does it? So you can argue those well you want, mate.
When is the last time C9 has been in a finals?
Last summer, no?
Yes, last summer.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, they 3-2'd against TSM.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, they would have been this spring, or like, you know, I kind of feel like I know there's no such thing as a moral victory, but they absolutely could have been in that final, obviously.
C9's always, they're always the bridesmaids, never the bride kind of team. They've been second place so much recently.
Yeah. And so in that sense, I feel like there's more pressure on C9 coming.
Oh, there is. I agree with you in that sense, yeah.
Yeah, CLG's the underdog. Like if
everyone would put it this way, even despite all of what happened in the CLG season, yes, most people aren't going to think of this as like, oh, it's really like actually on paper, I feel like it's closer than the expectation is. The expectation is CLG. You just see the name and you think, well, they haven't been good for years, and then you see C9, you're like, they should obviously win this game. You know, like that's kind of what most people will go and say. And by the way, just a very quick aside. Looking forward to seeing that video about Froggen.
Shit!
Hope you do your homework for this one.
Yeah, I'll do a lot. I'll put a lot of work in.
Yeah, good. That'll be good. Right. Anyway, continue on, Croissant. I just want to know.
You got me.
Each split, I keep going.
It's when your friend is like a struggling alcoholic or like he's dealing with problems. Like you don't fucking like make best. Like if you ever take a swig of like whiskey again, like you have to pay me $1,000. Like you don't take advantage of them.
I've tried to give you the intervention.
Vulnerable.
Every episode's practically an intervention to get you off fucking this addiction to TSM Crocodile, but you just won't get off it. You can't help that disgusting, dirty, sick feeling, but that little high it gives. Bjergsen. Let me just curl up and feel warm and loved in Bjergsen's mid lane, farm under the tower style. And then I'm like, why don't you just give it up, mate? Look, come to me, join the gym like the rest of us. Start being a fan of fucking C9. They're all hard working. Be a fan of Team Liquid. They're the best players. Just get on the winning train. You're like, listen, I can't do it.
What if C9 done for me? What if TL done for me?
Listen, Reggie used to give me the first hit for free. He's a good guy. Now he gives me half price. And eventually, like one time I couldn't even have the energy to stick the needle in my arm, and he had his own orb, he prepared, he shoved it in, he goes, this one's on the house, Loco, you little fucking rat. And he gave me it, and then he shunted me off in the Team Liquid and said, go on, fuck that team up as well.
Sorry to distract Croissant. But
no, anyway,
go on about
anyway, a lot of that was imaginary, by the way. Keep going.
I don't have that much more to say. Usually I'd have a more concrete prediction about like why I think one team will win, but to be very honest with you guys, I thought less about League in the last 4 to 5 days, or since we lost on Sunday, than I have in like a year.
Gun to your head, which team? Gun to your head, which team? C9 or CLG?
Yeah. Gun to my head, C9.
I think that's my conclusion too. C9 3-1.
I think what I will be looking at the most is how C9 will use their subs. I don't even know who CLG subs are, but there's like a
zero chance.
Chance. Yeah, there's actually a zero. I would say 0% chance that they use somebody else. Whereas C9 can leverage Blabber and can leverage Deathly, and like Wiggly is the biggest question mark for. I mean, Wiggly has been very consistent. He played well against us, but his champ pool is very you can target that, especially with Svenskeren and Blabber's champ pools. So that's like, I mean, just an example is Wiggly's been spamming Gragas trying to get that in his pool, whereas C9 has been like the only North American, or I mean, Xmithy plays it too, but C9's been the team that used it best, right? Yasuo or Gragas, or just Gragas by himself. And what I think is really, really cool is all of the top teams in each region, like LPL or a few junglers in Korea's LEC, is that a team that can use Gragas really well and shy away from this J4 Sejuani meta will be able to have the edge if they draft correctly around it. But there's so many like different game warping champions on top of Yuumi that could be the deciding factor in this series. And I think CLG will probably have better drafting, but C9 should have more options in terms of their flex picks, in terms of what's predictable or not, and in terms of like...
Who could imagine the opposing team against a Reaper squad getting the edge in the draft in the playoffs? I believe he comes with like a built-in fucking passive, doesn't he? Like, if regular season game, brilliant drafts. If playoff series, give minus 10% chance to all drafts.
Did they pick up Rainover last split or this split?
Rainover?
Yeah, they picked up Rainover.
I think did he just join?
I think it was this split, yeah.
No, he joined this split. So they got Rainover, Rapid, and Reaper. So the triple R squad. And I don't know, between the three of them...
They have one more that's not public. They have one more coaching staff that's not public. But they have a lot of... It's not Locodoco, but they have a lot of coaching staff.
Everyone who us's to be a pro player who's Korean but is now shit is allowed to join Cloud9 and be their draft secret agent.
Yeah. I wish... I mean, I do think Licorice's performance was affected by his slight injury or his injury situation. I just don't think he's been as dominant or as versatile as he was in previous splits. So, yeah, I would usually favor C9's topside heavily, but in this coming into the series, I don't know. I just haven't seen his form in quite a while. And we did scrim against we scrimmed against C9 and Liquid and those teams. So
I just think the best part of this series is, unless there is some like mad, rookie choke by some of the players on CLG, I think it's going to be a great series. Like, I think it's going to be a real bloodbath. Like, hopefully it goes all 5 games and someone just wins the 5th game.
Who do you have, Duncan?
I would personally side with C9, but I do actually think CLG has a chance. It's just
really?
like
they're still
a lot of it relies on me having to look at like weaknesses on C9 though. That's the problem, and so. Like, you can't even guarantee those will be there in the game itself. So, like, I actually think, for example, like I said, like Sneaky and Licorice haven't looked that sick this fucking season. But then again, the problem is, what are the strengths if you're on the side of CLG? What Power of Evil and fucking Wiggly? Well, I'd say the 2 best players right now on C9 are exactly the opposite positions. So, I generally, I think I've made this point many times before. Generally, just for your own mental fortitude, you want your strengths to be in a different place than the opponent. So you feel like, hey, well, at least if this skill lane gets going, we have a chance to win. So it's the same reason why on the clutch one, if you think Cody Sun's playing great, well, the one team you don't want to play right now is the one that's fucking double lift on it, does it? Like, I'd much rather play Sneaky or fucking Stixer right now if I had Cody Sun,
Let's touch on 2 players. I'm very curious to grab you guys' opinion. Sneaky for C9 and Ruin for CLG. So starting with Sneaky, I think Sneaky... Did he have a bad regular season? He had a bad regular season, but I don't think it's like anything too crazy because I don't think Sneaky's ever been like an amazing regular season player. When I think Sneaky performances, I think Worlds, I think that one Gauntlet run, I think playoffs. I think that's where Sneaky has shined so much more. I think Sneaky washes away all the criticism if he performs in playoffs, but he also legitimizes all the criticism if he
either washes away or he is washed. There we go.
Yeah, he washes away.
That's your fucking question, Sneaky.
What do you guys...
That is something... Yeah, that's something that I had forgotten about. But even in our series, if you look at how Stixay and Bio played against our bot lane, they had counter picks and they had, like, game 2, for example. They take Varus on 4, and we fucked up our bans on 4-5, and we take Draven Morgana 4-5. Like, it's definitely not what our bot lane wanted. They get to counterpick with a Zyra, and they're still dying 2v2, even though, they're dying 2v2 on CLG side. So
I'll tell you something that boggled my mind, right? Just because it's relevant to this. Was, when they released those list of the 10 names who are up for MVP for this split. Like, first of all, the idea there's 10 names, that's way too many already. Like, in almost every league I'm aware of that's a team sport, I think 5 would cover it. Like, if you can't get the right 5, you've fucked up as a person watching the sport.
We also have so much less players. So we have 10 players. So 10% of the players are MVP candidates.
So here's my problem, right? When they put the 10 players, Biofrost is on that list for MVP of the whole league. What? Am I missing something? They're a pretty decent lane.
When has MVP not been a popularity vote, though?
No, but I don't even know why the popularity would be there for him. Like, I don't even see him as like a huge name or anything. He's just a fucking guy who's playing TSM.
He's the what is it? As you said, a lot of carryover from TSM, and he's the most popular on CLG.
I don't get it because like there's players on CLG I would put up immediately over him, like I said. So I don't really get it personally, but whatever. I just wondered why that was there because as he's saying here, like I don't really look at the CLG bot lane and think they're like super duper. I think they're like above average. They're good, but they remind me almost entirely of when people used to say the same about Apollo and Hacker War, where because in theory you don't notice them because they're just all right. People were like they're underrated, and as I've always said, if everyone says you're underrated, you're actually overrated, aren't you?
Other than Core JJ, was he the only support?
I'll double check, but I would guess so. I'll have a quick check with
that. Bio is very. He's not the strongest laner, but he's consistent about vision setup, and I think he has good. He has very good control, and he moves well with the jungler. But Wiggly's actually the one who's been more vocal and been more demanding about how they communicate or the mistakes that they're making that they need to fix. So, yeah, I think that having Bio be an MVP over like many of the other candidates isn't valid. And in just the 2v2, and when you're asking about Sneaky, I would actually...
The only other support on the list who's an MVP candidate is Core JJ.
Yeah. I would think that Sneaky... I would expect Sneaky to be more consistent coming into this best of 5 than Stixxay. We haven't seen Stixxay in the playoffs since Season 7.
Yeah, it's been a while
ago. And... he has high highs, as we know, maybe arguably higher than Sneaky's, but I would still just have more faith in Sneaky and Zazal coming into the spot lane 2v2 matchup. It just is all about whether C9 can get the correct drafts. Like, I think it's really, really heavily dependent on that, and there's some games or some series where no matter how you draft, like, one bot lane or one team is going to get an edge. But I think in this case, that because their champ pools are so different, that you can checkmate a team from draft to a big extent. And it's not all just about C9 fighting in the first 10 minutes and like CLG plays slow or CLG is going to like roll over if you like just go super aggro on them. I think you have to have against CLG is probably, I think CLG and TL is a very good defensive team too when they're behind, but CLG and PoE particularly know exactly what they need to do. They don't care if they have to give up certain resources or we should have been able to close out or pressure them harder with the 4 Barons, but CLG would have fought us to the bitter end down to the Nexus towers. Oh my god, there's a spider on me. They can hold out against C9 even if we've seen C9 throw like some pretty big leads. So if C9 doesn't have a comp that can still match CLG in the mid to late game, and they're just focused on fighting early, which I don't think they'll do that, but I think there's a lot of fans or there's some analysts who think that is their win condition coming into this series.
Okay.
Pressuring CLG in the early game. And I think it's a little more nuanced than that.
The other player that I did want to talk about, Ruin, why I wanted to talk about him is I think opinion on him is so different. He got 3rd team All-Pro as a top laner, and Weldon defended the hell out of him in the Reddit thread where people were saying he doesn't deserve 3rd team All-Pro. What do you guys think?
He doesn't.
Where is Ruin for you guys?
So this is the same article because I can actually tell you who the teams were. So remember, we're only talking top lane positions. So number 1 was Impact, number 2 was Licorice, number 3 was Ruin.
I think.
What do you think? Who would you have had?
From top of my head, like Haunter, Huni, like easy names to put it above.
I think Haunter deserves it way more.
Yeah.
Huni, I think even you could probably make a case for with how their split went.
So it was just such a weird one for me, and why Ruin is.
I feel like they forced it. I feel like they wanted to just have more CLG players make it because let's face it, this is one of the things I hate the most about LCS. Is too many people just go off media narratives, and so the point is because CLG made the playoffs, well, some of their players must be really sick. Like Wes, I already said the point in my video. The point I actually say it to give more credit to CLG, the org, and what the players collectively have done. I don't think they have that many good players. Like I think compared to the TLs and C9s of the world, they have fucking nobody basically. So Wiggly's a prospect for the future. Right now, he isn't the best jungler. Svenskerin's much better. PoE is a very good player. He's definitely always going to be above average, but he's not someone I would bank my franchise on as a superstar, carrying the team or anything. And then who are the rest of the players? So the idea we're even getting to Ruin and he's the best top laner, get the fuck out of my face.
CLG's just extremely well coached and so cohesive, and they function well as a machine. I think if you isolate their parts and stick them on different teams, these aren't championship level players, but the way they work together is just so good.
Yeah, people are saying that Ruin is Impact light. I think historically his champ pool is quite a bit different, but
he's more of a carry player.
CLG, yeah, he's more of a carry player historically on CLG. I think when you're talking about like him versus Hanser, I think that Ruin plays weak side better, or he has more. I noticed more impact from him on the game after like even if he had a lot of solo deaths, right, or a significant amount for it to become a meme where people would be like, I knew we won after Ruin got solo killed, and CLG will like turn it around. But so GGS maybe Hanser wasn't able to have the same level of impact because their mid game shot calling system was just significantly less organized, and just like Hanser wasn't what had windows, but the team wasn't able to use them or incorporate him into the game plan. But I think Ruin's probably like a fantastic teammate, one of the like a huge upgrade. I mean, people rated him so highly because of how the team went from 7th, 8th place.
It's like the linear thing. He was the last to join, and then they got a much better finish. Yeah.
And like I do think those that he wasn't just like in it for he didn't join at a fortuitous timing. He was a big contribution to the shift in culture, or like his work ethic and how he deals how his teammates view him, and like the work ethic that he's putting in. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have put him as a clear top 3. It's just impact, and Huni people were pretty wishy-washy on.
By the way, if you ever want to get mad, if you ever just want to get mad at a whole bunch of people in the scene, you know the good thing. By the way, massive props to Riot for this. You know where they actually release the list that shows you who everyone voted for All Pro and MVP and stuff like that. If you ever go and read it, every year you'll just get mad at certain people. Like, for example, here's one that you're going to love. So even though he didn't even make top 3 for anyone else, Pastry Time actually had Hanser as his all-team pro first top laner. He put Hanser there. Loads of people had Ruin as their second, which is how he ended up actually obviously overall getting on the list 3rd, because obviously Licorice even had some first place picks. And then, man, there's some crazy ones when you go further down. Like, here's one you're going to love. So this is just one that's out of nowhere. So Kane, the coach of Team Liquid, had Dokla as his 3rd all-pro top laner. Like, you're just trolling at this point in time. Like, why are you fucking with the league like that? Like, some of these are outrageous, man. Some of these are absolutely outrageous.
People just don't care.
Yeah, I don't know why they release who votes for who, other than to like.
I like that.
No, for honesty reasons.
Make sure that people don't like troll vote or something.
Oh shit! Actually, wait a second. Kane also picked Froggen as his first All-Pro mid. So I take it all back, Kane. You have a very interesting read on the game that I actually respect a lot, and your perspective is
very nuanced and very. He knows something that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know. It seems like I think he's a smart cookie, if you ask me. MV, coach of the split, maybe. I'm going to delete that video, Kane. So I'll take care of your hobby. Sorry.
Should we start? Let's do a final topic and then let's start closing up. It's a little bit outside of playoffs.
Oh, and can I just say one last thing? To everyone, there was 2 people, they're both media people, who voted Bjergsen the first All-Pro mid. Fuck you. I hope you have your vote revoked. You should never be allowed to vote.
Can you clarify?
That is absolutely... No, it wasn't. It was 2 media people, actually. That is absolutely egregious as fuck. The best mid. Like, listen, the other ones actually were almost like half jokes, because obviously it's super debatable who the 3rd best top was. It wasn't really a great position in NA. But mid is actually pretty stacked in NA. So the idea you think Bjergsen was the best after this split, the fuck is wrong with you, homie? Come on, man. Come on.
All right.
If you don't watch the game, don't turn the fucking slip in. If you do watch it and you have some crazy ideas, like, you better have some reasons for it, because I'm going to see this sheet, aren't I? Now we know you're fucking someone who thinks Bjergsen's the best. Then again, though, maybe he was watching Face Check about...
Middle of the split, not the end. Middle of the split. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, the final topic that I want to hit on for today before we close out is Echo Fox getting sold. Or Echo Fox not getting sold to the Cronkies because of internal whatever, and Riot actually handling the sale of Echo Fox. They're going to kind of auction off Echo Fox, and Echo Fox will get most of the money, but yeah, like, what the fuck?
You mean the slot, right?
Yeah, the slot. Did you get to read the article, Dorn?
Basically, here's the problem with this whole scenario, is a lot of you won't have seen this, but the person, Amit Razada, or what his name, who is the person implicated as they claim he said all the racist stuff to Jace Hall, not to fucking Rick Fox. As soon as anyone tells me it was Rick Fox that the racist stuff was said, I stop listening because they don't even know the basic facts of the matter. But anyway, that person himself did an interview on Upcomer where he made all sorts of claims that were very, very interesting because his claims all came from the position not of I didn't say the racist stuff. He had two main positions. One was the notion that there was all business reasons as to why Rick Fox would want to have him out of the org and to fuck with him. Like apparently Rick Fox was supposed to buy back in for X million and then he implied this was all a power play by Rick Fox to try and reduce the figure so that maybe it would only be 3 million he'd buy it for instead of 5, whatever the situation was. The problem with that, of course, is this is all hearsay. I haven't seen any documents on either side. And then the second angle, which is a very interesting angle, this is another one that I also haven't seen evidence for, but if there was any evidence for it, would make the case really interesting, was that he claimed that him and Rick Fox were actually personal friends for all of this, and that they'd even been on all family vacations and stuff.
I'm sure they have photos. Like that's something easy to prove. No,
that's the point. That's my point, is that you could either with another journalist who doesn't have to reveal it to the public, you can show him the financial stuff to show that, or communications suggesting as much, or secondly, like you're saying, it'd be very easy to prove the family aspect because obviously in the modern day everyone has smartphones. Now if either of these were true, that makes the whole case very, very interesting because that the original case, remember I personally already felt a little bit skeptical about the original premise because the original premise went like this: Rick Fox is such a fucking heroic and principled man that even if it might cost his business money, he's willing to take a stand against racism against someone else in the company, not even himself, because he's so principled. And in fact, if they wouldn't have removed him, he was even willing to just leave the company. Even though at one point in time, he wasn't even actually an owner in the company. There's all sorts of... The problem with that scenario, Loco, is that's not actually a really great angle in itself. And it's kind of bullshit, if you ask me. So, I personally feel like this is just a journalist's hunch. I feel like there's probably a little bit of truth in both camps and that we haven't got any evidence for most sides of it. And so I actually think one day down the line, some of it will come out.
And no one will give a fuck.
That probably, yeah, I'm sure, true, Rick Fox probably didn't appreciate the racism, but I think there was probably also an angle where he was like, this is where I could use this for political leverage though, and this would help me in a business deal upcoming. So the reason why I bring all that up is because this is a perfect example of why Riot is going to have a lot of problems running a franchise league, because they're used to the old days where they were just the god of the game and they just come in and they go, oh, sorry, Renegades, you're banned. You over here, Mortals, you're not getting in the league. Like they could just do anything they wanted, right? The problem is now we don't live in a world. I don't know how much you know about business. You can't just come up and say, right, by the way, you, this guy who's invested in my company, even though there's no legal precedent for you to do this, I'm going to have to tell you have to sell your shares right now because I didn't like something you wrote in an email that was a rude word. Like, that's nonsense. Where's the business precedent for that? So the problem is, as soon as they announced that they were going to have to make them sell, they were already in a tough spot because it's nothing to do with Riot, is it? What this fucking guy owns in a company. So, like, I could already see this coming miles out that there was going to be a massive problem because if that guy, as he wanted to, decided, well, I'm not just going to let you fucking wreck me for no reason. I'm going to make as much trouble as possible. That's how you end up in this situation. So I think it's a clusterfuck for everyone at this point. No one looks good. Rick Fox looks terrible. Echo Fox looks terrible. The Amit Razada guy obviously looks terrible. But even Riot looks terrible. Like, this has been terrible for everyone as far as I can tell.
Well, beyond, like, the Echo Fox mess, what do you think of, like, Echo Fox like getting forced to sell and like that spot being up for option? Like we talked about it a little bit on Face Check because I was like, damn, this is kind of cray. Like
I still don't understand why they would have to.
I don't understand either, but like it's been 2 years and permanent partnerships and 3 teams are getting sold. So other hosts on Face Check told me it's not that big, what is it, in the initial parts of franchise, even in NBA, even in NFL, there were teams coming in and out, but once they stabilized, it was fine. Where I viewed it as it's only 2 years in and teams are already getting sold and teams are already dipping. Like, is league in a fine spot in terms of like financial, in terms of the future? Like, what's your take on that?
Look at it. Like, some of it might attach to the Rich episode we did where he pointed out like some of the economics of it. I think some of that. I also just think some of it, believe it or not, is even if someone bought in and they did think, you know, this might be a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, they also just might think after a couple of years, actually second thoughts, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just move my money and put it elsewhere. Like, that could also be something as well. I've just lost interest in this product. Like, I think it could just be as whimsical as that, believe it or not. What do you think, though, Croissant?
Well, I think that the Clutch Dig transition is, I mean, Clutch is on an upswing, so and looks like their management transition is going pretty well from what I've heard. Immortals over Optic, I'm not
nothing you can say about that, but that also doesn't seem like it has much to do with League, quite frankly. It was to do with the org.
Yeah, and so I don't imagine that like whatever team replaces Optic in season 10, or the organization, because I don't think they have like an official name or anything yet. That is going to be probably better than how Optic was managed over season 8 and season 9. Like, just we were very limited on resources and stuff, and basically everything that you've seen from a content end was done by one dude with a camera. Shout out to Toby. And then everything on the team side was like we didn't have any great infrastructure or facilities or anything. It was just like Zab, me, the players, and like our two managers who were helping out. And then as for Echo Fox, they always had strong brand value, or they had their face, right? With Rick.
They had Rick Fox.
And
that's what they had.
As a spokesperson, that's what they had. Did they have a real business plan? Did they have effective budgeting? Did they have good infrastructure? Talk to most of the coaches or the staff members or the players that left the team, and you'll probably get a no. So the fact that that organization is being forced to sell, I didn't read too much about it, but from what I understand, they still have to sell, or now they're on a fast track because they didn't get the one offer that they really had from Kroenke is getting, or it was denied because of internal drama with Kroenke and investors there. And like
there was also another bit of drama with that where there was some news that came out that claimed that it was cancelled because Rick Fox thought he could get more from another deal that was going to be worth even more. Some fucked up shit.
And then that like deal where he could get more was shown to be like probably not a real offer compared to the Kroenke one that they initially went with. Kroenke one get canceled. Now it's going to another team. I just hope that whatever team is joining the LCS is good and like has good management, has a game plan, because then you have 10 stable, relatively stable LCS teams. FlyQuest, despite their poor showing in summer, has good management, has good structure, and so I'm relatively optimistic. Like franchising, like didn't do significantly worse this year than it did in season 8, and it's going to keep moving forward. And I know there's people who want more teams so that there's more stability, so they want to expand from 10 to 12. We're definitely not ready for that anytime in the near future. But yeah, I think just I am not particularly invested in Echo Fox and the position that they represented in the LCS. I just hope that the players and the staff, like all of them, have a good set of options and that they're not getting like screwed over in any particular way. And yeah, nothing to say about.
By the way, Loco, was it actually when I'm forgetting the exact rules? So maybe you can remember. I'll look it up. When they actually announced initially Riot's response to all this stuff, was it actually implied that it was because of this racism that Echo Fox has to sell the spot?
So they were given like 60 days to get this guy out or be forced to sell. And
then all I'm going to say is this is my final word to say on this topic. The person within Riot Games who literally in their offices was farting in people's faces got something like a 2-month suspension, paid holiday probably, and then just came back and still has the same position high up in their company. Meanwhile, someone who in an internal email, nothing to do with Riot, said something racial to someone else in his team who he invested in, you have to sell the entire spot because that's Riot. That's Riot's fucked up. Like, what's great about Riot is it reminds me of a great quote about really left-wing people. It's like this. It says there's no point complaining that they have double standards, because if they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all.
Okay. All right, let's start closing out the episode. Riot, I still like you. It's just Duncan.
Yeah, because we've established you've got battered wife syndrome.
Anyways,
I'm the guy trying to come in and beat up your fucking husband who's fucking with you. You're like, get away! You're like the fucking woman on Cops who's like, you run in with a wife beater and you're trying to get the cops out. Get away from him! You don't know the way that Clarence is when he gets drunk at night. Like, I'm like, fuck, it's not even worth the hassle. Listen, Bill, let's just go to the fucking bar and watch TSM lose another split. Yes, and then we go off, start drinking fucking wild turkey.
Croissant, thank you so much for being on the episode.
As opposed to mild turkey, aka broken blade. I hope you get the one ring and say it is done, and then fuck off out of NA, mate.
Any final words, Croissant?
No, just thanks to both of you. Thanks to all the viewers. This was fun. I just
cheers,
wanted
mate.
to do it as like a closing to the
Yeah,
season,
thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Duncan, thank you for being on. I'll talk to you guys later. All right,
Peace.
bye.
Peace.
Thank you to our gold Patreon supporters, Buttpounder420, Tobias Bernasconi, and Icelandic C9 fan. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you to our silver supporters. Thank you to our bronze supporters. Thank you to our iron supporters. And also, thank you so much to all the Twitch viewers, YouTube viewers, and all the Twitch subs, wherever you guys are watching from. And yeah, that's going to be it for the show today.